This is former WWE and TNA Impact superstar Mike Knox, a.k.a. Nux. You are listening to The Final Count. Keep it tuned. Hey everybody, Anthony Corelli here, formerly known as Santino Morella. You are listening to The Final Count.
This is former WWE superstar Victor, and you are listening to The Final Count.
Hi everybody, my name's Berto, and this is my service animal, Hippo, with our good friend Eric. Eric, and you're here listening and watching the Final Count podcast. Yay!
Hey, it's Eric Ornish, voice of the Valley from OVW, and you're checking out the Final Count. Citizens, this is Super Z, and you're watching the Final Count.
Welcome to the Final Count. Here is your host, Rymode Mosley, and your co-host, the 502 Ace, Bryan Dixon.
What's up? That's right, wrestling fans, the Final Count fans. It's another week again. It is another week to talk wrestling. And you might be like, Ryan, Rymode, where is the 502 Ace? Where is Madman Chris? Where are they at? We'll get to that in a little bit later. What I will say first of all, and I'll get to where they're at later. I do have some guests with me. In just a few moments, I'll let you all know who they are. And they're going to help me break down this weekend wrestling. We're going to talk about Crown Jewel. We're going to talk about OVW Reckoning, or OVW Revolution Reckoning. And then we're also going to be talking about OVW Rise from this past week's Rise on Thursday, if you're watching this on Saturday. But I'm just happy that I don't have to deal with Revolution this week. I get a break from the Revolution stuff this week. And like I said, we'll get into why that is. There's a actually really good reason. Not a good reason, but there's a reason behind the situation. In all truth, shout out to Chris. He has had some things going on this past week. I won't get into all the details or anything, but brother, we love you for real. No joke about that at all. And same to Mr. 502 Ace. Bryan Dixon, love you, brother. Both of my brothers right here on the Final Count. Couldn't ask for a better co-host. But right now, I do want to introduce, first of all, my two fill-in co-hosts for this week. And they got big shoes to fill, but they can definitely fill these shoes for sure, without a doubt. So first of all, I want to introduce to you, he's no stranger to the Final Count at all. He is the general manager of BullPen Pro Wrestling. He is Neil Brewer. So let's bring on Neil now. Neil, what is up, man? Thank you.
Happy to be here talking about wrestling like everyone else.
Yes. It's an exciting episode this week. Before we go any further, I'm going to go ahead and introduce our second co-host for the night, or for this show. And it is without further ado, he's had Madman Chris on the OVW, the unofficial OVW podcast. It is the OVW podcast, nonetheless. And he is one half of the OVW podcast, as far as in front of the camera. So let me go ahead and introduce to you Mr. Jackman. What's up, Jackman? How you doing?
Hey, brother. Thank you so much for having me tonight.
Thank you for joining me. Appreciate it.
I wish I was in a cool studio, like Neil, or that I had a cool background like you. I am inside of a closet because it is, the most soundproof place in my shared living space here. But the bonus part of this is that my cat, this is where she likes to hang out, so we might see my cat during this broadcast of the Final Count tonight.
Hey, I mean, if we do, I mean, more than welcome. The more the merrier.
Yeah. Can't wait. She's cute. She doesn't know how cute she is on camera.
Oh, well.
Sure, she has no idea.
Yeah,
no idea at all. Well, guys, it's been a pretty big week this past week in wrestling. I mean, we're coming off the heels of Crown Jewel.
Mm-hmm.
There's just so many different things. We're also coming off the heels of the major announcement of WWE ID. We haven't really talked about that recently, but I did want to touch into this actually a little bit before we do get into Crown Jewel real quick. What are y'all's thoughts about WWE ID? I mean, that's a huge thing. I feel like, some people that think that, it's going to hurt the independent wrestling business. I don't see it that way because
sorry, I was saying for people who may not know, Ryan, do you just want to explain what it is basically?
Yeah. So actually, I'll let you go ahead and explain because you might understand it better and explain it better than I can.
My understanding is that it's like kind of, I mean, people have said like OnlyFans for wrestlers or something like that, but why I don't know a lot about it technically from what I've read and heard about it is it's basically a way to platform so wrestlers can market themselves all throughout the country and possibly get picked up to WWE and stuff like that. So it's if my understanding is correct, it's basically a platform where people can upload content and create profiles of their own wrestling content, which can get ranked or seen or voted up to the top, and WWE can skim, from whatever rises to the top. Is that basically right?
I'd say so. I'd say it's, to me, it sounds like, or it seems like rather, kind of like it's WWE developmental before WWE developmental, like it's pre-WWE developmental, if that makes sense. What about you, Jackman? What do you think?
Well, I think I really love the way that you just put it. Like pre-developmental, like kind of trying to return to this thing. What WWE has basically done in the last like 25 years is scorched the entire earth of indie wrestling, right? They've AEW is only a thing because the indie renaissance of like the mid 2010s was unheralded. It was a thing that nobody thought could ever happen. And for me, I think that this is really WWE's way of getting out ahead of a indie renaissance and just being able to control and kind of manipulate and whitewash all talent that comes through any system. Do I think it's a bad thing? No, because I think that wrestlers should be paid always.
Yeah.
I think workers should be paid. But like, as far as like, what do I like about wrestling? I have my curiosity about the execution of this program in the long term.
That makes sense. I mean, I do feel like I said, there are people that think it's going to hurt the indie wrestling scene, and I don't see that as going to be the case. I feel like it just gives more opportunity to people that we want to see make it. Because I mean, who are we kidding?
People who, what would the dissenters say? I'm not quite sure that argument. Like, how could something like that really hurt the indie scene? Because you feel like, well, not all of them are just going to go up. A few of them, at the top. But it's just I don't know. I don't understand how that could be hurtful.
Yeah, like I think from what I'm understanding, people think like, oh, it's going to hurt the indie scene as far as like, oh, well, that's just WWE taking over more of the indie scene, or trying to take out the indie scene in a way. That's just from what I'm kind of reading, from what I've seen and things like that.
Sure.
So I mean, and I don't see it that way because it gives us the opportunity it gives people that we want, like for example, like an Ari Alexander, like a Jada Stone, the Spark Jada Stone, Matty Ice, who's an alumni of the show here. I mean, and he's also with Booker T's Reality of Wrestling, former Reality of Wrestling champion as well. And I mean, guys like that and girls like that, Dustin Jackson, just all these people, Luke Curtis, all these people that we want to see make it to the WWE, and this gives them more of an opportunity. It opens the door more.
Right. And, like one thing, and this is me coming from, right, I have like a stage actor experience background in the Ohio Valley is kind of my passion, where I've come up from and stuff. And if you're a big actor, you're either like in Actors Equity or you're in the Screen Actors Guild. So no matter what kind of play or movie we're doing, if we want some big A-lister to come in and be like, hey, you want to do this or what? It's just, there are so many walls and barriers that don't really exist nearly as much in the world of professional wrestling. That's how we got, Dijak. That's how we got Zaya. It's just the freedom of negotiation and people who are really passionate that can go down to the local level and really train those opportunities exist in wrestling that don't really exist kind of in the acting. And I think that that's going to help improve it a lot too. Yeah,
definitely. So I just wanted to kind of break down and talk about a little bit about WWE ID and just how much that's going to help the wrestling business and help the indie scene as well. And like I said, open up more doors of opportunity to people that we want to see.
The way that I kind of have understood WWE ID is like, so I was a skater kid. Can you imagine? You guys know.
Yeah.
Right? I'm desperately trying so hard to be edgy. You guys know. I was a skater kid growing up, and like one of the big things in skateboarding is you get sponsored. And that basically just means that if anybody takes a photo of you, you better be wearing our stuff. Mm-hmm. And we're going to send you, in the form of payment, stickers and clothes and jeans and shoes. But we're not going to really send you money. I think that WWE, I'm not drawing a direct one-to-one comparison, I think WWE will be contributing money to the WWE ID members. But I view this so much more as like skate sponsorship, where it's just like, you're affiliated with us. So you better not do the thing that we don't want you to do. Wouldn't it be so bad for you if you made us look bad? And I guess that's what I'm afraid of with WWID. Not just to play devil's advocate, with you. But I will gladly play devil's advocate with you all if you need me to.
Yeah, no, that's a valid point too, and that's a valid, very, very well valid point, because WWE, they're putting that stamp of approval on you. I mean, like you said, they're not going to want you to go and make them look bad.
No, well, and they are making an investment in your literal body.
Yeah,
like. It's we should look at it similar to the NIL program that WWE ran with college athletes. We should look at it similarly to a college signing a high school athlete. They're making an investment in your body, in your literal body, and the potential that your body can have inside of this business. And I think that you just get into some weird areas whenever you break it down to something like that plain.
Well, I would say body is fair, obviously, because you're a wrestler and stuff too. But I mean, it's not just that. I would assume that like persona and character and how you're able to market yourself and merchandise and what you're going to be able to bring would also, play a part into that as well.
For sure.
Yeah, exactly. Great points right there. I mean, for sure. Moving on to WWE Crown Jewel. We're coming off the heels of Crown Jewel. That was this past Saturday, so a week ago today. And the first match on Crown Jewel was the Bloodline versus the OG Bloodline, 3 members of it at least.
Sorry, Neil. I don't think I've ever seen you without glasses on before.
Oh, sorry. Well, I took them off because the glare was on the screen. I was like, I've got to lose that. You can't recognize me. It's like, all right,
no worries.
Anyway, first match, Crown Jewel.
First match of Crown Jewel, we got the Bloodline defeats the OG Bloodline, 3 members at least, Roman Reigns and the Usos. So Solo Sikoa earned the biggest pinfall of his career by earning the 3 count over Roman Reigns and anointing himself as the one and true tribal chief of the Bloodline. The Usos kicked things off by bringing back their signature tandem offense, but it wasn't long before the Samoan Werewolf brought the fight back to them, leading to a tense standoff. With the OG Bloodline in firm control, Jay at first ignores the crowd's want of the OTC and tagged in his twin brother instead of Reigns, who stood bewildered on the ring apron. Like, he was like legit like, dude, why didn't you tag me in?
He looked exhausted during this entire match. I feel so bad for him.
He did. And I love the story that they're telling with that Jay still, you might have squashed the beef, but Jay still does not trust you.
Yeah.
Like, Jay still really does not trust you. So you still have to earn that trust. And that was being shown in this match by simply him not tagging in Roman and tagging in Jimmy. Solo Sikoa finally got in on the action and destroyed his brothers before Reigns finally tagged in, leading to an epic back and forth between the 2 superstars vying for the head of the table. After Sikoa nearly won the match with a Samoan spike on his former tribal chief, the officials became caught in the crosshairs thanks to Reigns inadvertently tossing Tama Tonga onto him. During the chaos, Sikoa nailed Reigns with 2 more Samoan spikes for the win of the match and cemented himself as the true tribal chief. Then after the match, this is where it gets interesting. After the match, Sikoa, Fatu, Tonga, and Loa attacked their opponents, only for the former honorary Uso Sami Zayn to appear and side with his former Bloodline teammates. But an accidental haluva kick to Roman Reigns left things even murkier than for the OG Bloodline. They had him cornered, and then the OG Bloodline had Solo cornered. Solo moves out of the way or gets pulled out of the way. I don't believe it. I think he got pulled out of the way, and and accidentally gets the haluva kick to Reigns from Sami Zayn.
So for me, Sami coming in, his presentation, just like how messianic he kind of was presented walking into this fiasco of a match. I loved it. And like, Sami Zayn has always been a very pointed and brilliant addition to the Bloodline story. And I think I don't want to speak for you guys, but I think I speak for a lot of people when I say I didn't give a shit about the Bloodline before Sami Zayn was in it. And he was able to sprinkle some magic all across that storyline. And he was really a big part of what got, for me, Cody and Roman through another WrestleMania, was just Sami Zayn's presence in the Bloodline. The guy is able to work wonders, and him walking into this match, knowing his history with everyone involved, and also knowing that he doesn't like to do the Saudi Arabia shows, he walked in, like I said, with an almost messianic and almost savior-like presence for me in this match, and both kayfabe and in reality, like both kayfabe and my consumption of the match.
My take on that, I did see the opening match. It was good. I mean, it was everything you would want in an opening match. Solo Sikoa, I think, just over the time, and even before Reigns lost his title, his booking has always been really odd. It has been like, are you booking him as someone who's just like this mid-card guy who can't win now, or is he like this unstoppable? They just seem so back and forth for a while. Whenever he took out John Cena at Crown Jewel a while ago. I think it was kind of a similar finish. I think he hit Cena with like 5 of those spikes. It was like that was, and yeah, this I would say would be the biggest win of his career, a clean, pin on Reigns, which he is overdue for. Me personally, I mean, the guy is obviously really flipping talented. Do I see him as like the next number one? I don't think he's there yet. I don't know how much longer they're going to do this bloodline thing. Of course, they'd had to bring Sami Zayn back because, like you said, even though I've been a big fan of the bloodline, and just for the record, since like 2012, the Usos, in my opinion, greatest tag team of all time. That's just me. I know it's saying a lot, but they were a tag that even when they were coming out with their Samoan dance, and stuff, and they were just forever faces. I just never in a million years thought that they'd split up or find some of the stuff they did. I still freaking love them. I mean, when they're going into the Shield and the Wyatt family, it's like people just forget that Jimmy and Jay have just been mainstays for 12 years, and they always are like at the top of their game when they have the chance to be. So
I think there's an argument to be made that the Usos really kind of retaught Vince McMahon the importance of tag team wrestling. And I think that like them having a foil, like a ready-made, more Vince McMahon type foil in the form of the Shield, this like the Wyatt family, which I think are more greenlit Vince McMahon type things. Right. But I don't think that any of those runs are as successful or memorable without the Usos always being there. Without the Usos always being there.
Yeah.
And whenever it comes to, comes to the truth, comes to the current day, who's still there? It's the Usos.
Exactly.
Here? No, you're okay. Kat's not interested yet.
Oh, very good points right there. And you speak of the Usos, and I completely agree. One of the best tag teams ever, for real. And you talk about the Usos being the team that's still around and everything.
Mm-hmm.
Their counterpart.
Doing the work.
You might know where I'm going with this. Their counterparts.
Day one-ish.
The New Day.
Oh,
the New Day,
wow, yeah.
I mean, so you could say the same about both teams, really. I mean,
if I was going to draw
the New Day.
I'm sorry, Neil.
Oh no, you go ahead.
If I was going to draw a distinction, I think that like if we're just like getting into like the Vince McMahon-ness of it all, the New Day was like always meant to fail and managed because those 3 guys were so good and at what they did and so good together, they managed to overcome it. The Usos, I think, were lackluster because Vince McMahon built them to lackluster at the beginning because Vince McMahon built them to succeed. We weren't on board with his vision of what, he was doing 80s shit in 2012. Like, we were over it, right? Do we cuss on the show?
Yeah, you're good.
Okay. But like, the Usos, when they come out with the face paint, like, you love the athleticism, you love the chemistry, you love the story. It wasn't until they were able to be Jimmy and Jay that they became a great tag team.
Right. I mean, it used to be, you remember, and this is so funny, it's like people would get Jimmy and Jay mixed up, every now and then the tag team. Nobody mixes them up now. Like, they have like broken off in their own individual, and yeah, I'm happy for them. I'm sure they're happy too. I hope. I'm excited to see where they go from here.
Exactly.
I think that WWE has been so great in the restraint that they've had in not putting them back together until recently.
Yeah.
And letting them breathe.
Yeah,
that's what both of those guys really needed. And they were both super capable of it the entire time. Just maybe the powers that be before 2 years ago didn't really believe in that type of stuff.
Yeah. Yeah, true. It's all true. Then we have the second match of the night, the WWE Women's Tag Team Champions, Bianca Belair and Jade Cargill, the Storm, defeated Damage Control, Chelsea Green and Piper Niven, and Jakara Jackson and Lash Legend from NXT in a fatal four-way match. Belair and Io Sky dazzled in the early goings, and they found common ground and going after Chelsea Green, with Cargill and Lash Legend also taking turns thrashing the hot mess. Scott and Kairi Sane managed to take out Jakara Jackson, while Piper Niven single-handedly neutralized Damage Control, only for Belair to thump the Scottish superstar with a huge blockbuster from the top rope. The match became pure chaos when Sane hit the insane elbow, followed by a moonsault from the Genius of the Sky and a huge diving splash from Jackson after being perched on Legend's shoulders. The madness continued when Niven accidentally hit a Vader bomb on her own partner, allowing the champions a window to hit a ring-shaking Doomsday device to retain their titles. The WWE Women's Tag Team champions retain with Belair and Jade Cargill after a hard-fought victory and a fatal four-way match. Great women's tag match right there, fatal four-way. I don't think it's really surprising that Jade and Bianca retained there. I think in our predictions, if I remember correctly, we predicted that Jade and Bianca would retain. So, I mean, that's no surprise, I don't believe.
I mean, so the biggest surprise about Jade Cargill and Bianca Belair so far is that they haven't turned on each other yet.
Yes.
It was never a surprise to put the two of them together. It was never, they're two incredibly strong, incredibly beautiful women, incredibly personally talented, great monikers for, I think, what the message of the women's division is in WWE, right?
Yes.
We're diverse, we're big, we're beautiful, we're smart, we're funny, we're all of this. Jade Cargill and Bianca Belair exemplify that.
Mm-hmm.
You put the two of them together, I think that there is, since I'm on your show and not mine, is there maybe some things to say about Triple H's tendency to stick people of the same geographical region or skin color together? Yeah, there probably is something to say about it. But beyond that, Bianca Belair and Jade Cargill make fucking sense together, right?
Yeah.
Having said all of that, that's my analytical brain. I could not get into this match because I find the ring wear when women go to Saudi Arabia comical, above and beyond censorship to a certain degree. You know what I mean? It's not even I'm I disrespect their culture, or I don't agree with them, so it's just making them wear sweaters to wrestle takes me out of wrestling.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That's the thing that you broach on, and it is unfortunate, and I think that's something that all wrestling fans have thought about and have to weigh and stuff. Me personally, at the end of the day, it's it's really barbaric and ancient, but if it's somehow going to close the cultural divide and make it more acceptable, and whenever the Saudi Arabia pay-per-view started, wrestlers who were not okay with it didn't really make it a secret, and it seemed like that there wasn't a lot of, it seems like it was kind of respect. There wasn't a ton of retribution, for them not going over there. Well, the women competitors go, and they put on it, but I believe that they are making that choice in vain of change someday. But it's tough, man.
To your point, I think that Sami Zayn, a person like Sami Zayn, is an incredibly smart person and an incredibly invested person. I don't think he would be going if he didn't think things were heading in the right direction. Right?
Yeah.
As I move this dress. No, I just like I tend to skew a little darker, but if you were asking me like point blank, I tend to agree with you. Is that like anytime that the measure moves, it moves, and that's a good thing. You know.
For sure, for sure. No, I mean, you know, like Jackman, like you said, with the women, and it's not about what they wear or anything. It's not really about what they wear or the gear or anything, but the culture. And like I said, not no disrespect to the culture. It is kind of like overboard. It's too much when they're not to say that I want y'all to show skin or something. You know, it's not like that.
No. And I don't think anybody.
I think we all know it's overboard, and I think WWE knows it's overboard. I think they're just doing it, you know, to play nice and get the cultural gap. I mean, we shouldn't have to say that. Yeah, women being forced by law to wear that stuff is overboard.
Right.
Yeah.
It's very true. You know, I completely agree with you on that for sure. Excuse me. So then we have Seth freaking Rollins versus Big Bronson Reed. And Seth freaking Rollins stormed back up the ramp to attack Big Bronson Reed before the match, leading to an all-out brawl before the officials could gain control. After Reed used his immense strength to down Rollins, he nailed a massive tsunami, only for the Visionary to avoid a second one and nearly win the match with a stomp. A frustrated Rollins continued his assault, but Reed railed and brutalized the former World Heavyweight Champion and put him in prime position for another stomp. Rollins rode out of the ring, and Reed chased him with the steel steps, only for the Architect to knock Reed down and hit him with a stomp onto the steel, followed by another stomp in the ring, and finally a super stomp to win the match. As Rollins limped his way up the ramp, he turned back only to see the monstrous Reed back on his feet, seemingly ready for more carnage. So this just continuously on and on assault, and where is this thing going to end with these guys, with Rollins and Bronson Reed? Where are they going to go with this?
So I'll go my take first. I thought this whole start of this, whenever Rollins needed some time off and Bronson hit him with all those splashes and stuff, like that's it. That was great. Like, I mean, that's really what he needed to kind of inject and stuff like this. As far as their brawl and their match at Crown Jewel, and so to get in kind of what happened on Raw too, because on Raw, Seth Rollins curb stomped him onto like the hood of a car outside. They were like brawling and stuff, and you know, he recovered kind of right quick. They're both really talented, but whenever you're doing that with like the curb stomp, it's just whenever you overuse a move over and over and someone keeps getting up from it, that just me personally kind of takes me out of it a little bit. It's like, I don't know what you're doing. It's just like, yeah, you're going to curb stomp his head on the step. You're going to curb stomp, you know, and there, and he's still like popping up. And it's just, I guess my question is kind of what's the point? It makes Rollins curb stomp look a lot weaker, and it just kind of goes, you know, into almost like superhuman invincible territory to the point of comical. And they're not trying to do like a giant gimmick or something funny with the two of them. They're like, oh, this is a flippin' all out brawl. This is serious. Mm-hmm. And so what they're giving versus what I think they're trying to do just really isn't syncing up. It had a really good start, but where their program is at, I'm just like, meh.
So there's an element for me in the Triple H era where he's always kind of looking at the past and trying to put his own spin on it, or trying to define things that WWE fans know to be mundane or past, what's the word I'm looking for? Pastiches that they know, I guess, to be WWE related things. He's always trying to redefine them. And for me, there was an element where we were looking at like the redone version of Shawn versus Vader, which we know in WWE history is like one of the biggest misses that WWE has ever had. Is they got Vader a little too late. He wasn't as motivated in WWE as he was in All Japan. They were trying to create magic out of something that wasn't there. I can't help but wonder with Seth and with Bronson, who have been meant a majority of the time that they wrestle, no matter who they're wrestling, that they are like trying to, whenever you have coffee in your pot and it's not fresh, but you put it in the microwave anyway, and you drink it anyway. I can't help but think maybe they're reheating not fresh coffee with Bronson and Seth. There's no two more capable people.
Right.
But I wonder if the chemistry is there between the two of them, and I wonder if the motivation to consume is there from the audience.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Hey, stranger. Rymode.
Stranger. Had to go get me some water right quick.
Hey, H2O.
So yeah.
I got my big cup.
God made that on day 2.
We'll do what now?
God made that on day 2.
Right, exactly.
It was like the second thing he made was water.
Exactly. So we gotta have that.
I'm not religious. I'm not religious or anything.
I am, but I digress.
No. And like, I'm not making fun of it. Like, but like, I think it speaks a lot, like, in our relationship to spirituality or whatever. That like the first most important thing was having a place to live. The second most important thing was fucking drinking water.
Yeah, it's true. All right. So the next match, yeah.
Oh no, I said moving along. Sorry, we're.
Oh yeah. So the next match on Crown Jewel, we have the WWE Women's World Champion Liv Morgan defeated the WWE Women's Champion Nia Jax to become the first ever Women's Crown Jewel Champion. Jax's power advantage was stark as she tossed Morgan around the ring with ease, forcing the Women's World Champion to use her speed and quickness to try and gain advantage, any advantage she could. Despite Morgan targeting her legs, Jax powered Morgan onto the top rope and hit her with an avalanche Samoan drop, but the Women's World Champion somehow kicked out. As the two superstars battled inside the ring, Miss Money in the Bank, Tiffany Stratton, hit the scene but was chased off by a furious Jax. Stratton decided that it was Tiffy time anyway, but Rodriguez neutralized her, followed by Jax taking out everyone on the outside. Dirty Dom inserted himself into the match to distract Jax and the official long enough for Morgan to hit Oblivion to become the first ever Women's Crown Jewel Champion. Wow. So Liv Morgan becomes the first ever Women's Crown Jewel Champion, defeating Nia Jax, thanks to Dirty Dominic Mysterio, Raquel Rodriguez, and inadvertently Tiffany Stratton. So all three of these mofos done cost Nia Jax the win, and helped Liv Morgan.
Whenever you're talking wrestling, and I guess I'll say it, this would be one of my slogans one time, and it's just like, well, if I was the booker or if I was making it was solid in-ring work. I love Liv Morgan and her story right now. If I was making that creative decision, I would have put Nia Jax over. I think that Nia has never really gotten her fair push. I think Liv has still got some and still has so many places to go. I mean, she got Ronda Rousey like twice. I never would have kind of thought that going into it and stuff. And Nia Jax constantly is one of those wrestlers where it's like, is she finally going to get the put, and it's like, it seems every time it's like, yeah, kind of, but not really. I mean, she still is the champion and stuff right now, But if you're looking from like a career perspective and like decision wise, Nia Jax would have been like, that would have been shocking and it would have been good. And I think that a lot of people would have been like, yeah, you know, it's time for that. I don't know. That's kind of my take on it. They're both fantastic. Liv Morgan as champion, I think it's really hard to book her as anything other than an underdog. Being a heel in the Judgment Day kind of helps, but I would have gone with Nia with this one.
I agree.
So for me, I think that when Nia Jax came back, as long as I'm playing devil's advocate, right? That's what I'm here for. It's none of the usual co-hosts are here. We're all just having fun. For me, I think that Nia was never hotter than when she first came back. I think that the Nia momentum I think that they're a little slow to come back like onto. I think that it should have been hammered hard as soon as she came back under Triple H. I do really, really, really like your point about Liv being a better underdog than she is like a dominant champion, like fighting from below. I really do like think that's salient. But the addition of Dirty Dom, the thing that he's able to do, and the thing that people hate him the most for, and WWE fans especially, is that he's able to surround himself with the most desirable women on the planet. And like, if one's not your type, then the other one's your type, right? And that's the heat of Dirty Dom. Like, and I'm not trying.
What a success story! Like, I was glad whenever he started tag teaming with his dad. But I think what I and everyone's thinking is like, yeah, he's got some moves, but what is he gonna? And no one would have thought, oh, he's gonna grow a mullet and go to jail. And it's just the magic of wrestling. And I feel like, given his trajectory and his age, I think maybe Dominic Mysterio could outdo his father, maybe even Eddie Guerrero. I think that he, in his character range already and his age, I know that's big talk already, but I'm just saying he is not disappointing at all. And I am so excited to see what's going to happen with him like over the next decade.
One of the smartest things that they've done with him is they don't let him wrestle that much. Like, whenever you see him, he's on a platform, right? And you see these glimpses and you're just like, oh, I didn't think that dumbass could do that. Like, but whenever he's ready to go, when he's like primed, like ready to go, whenever he's out of the Dirty Dom, whenever he is whatever a Dirty Dom, Guerrero, Mysterio, babyface thing looks like, whenever he does that, and he's like, like when you're starting a lawnmower, whenever he finally gets going, I have no doubt that he's going to be one of the best. I have no doubt that he's going to be one of the best. But I also think that a lot of him being able to be as good as he's going to be is the immense amount of protection that they give him right now.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I like that you pointed that out there. Speaking of Guerrero, how long till we see Dominic's name go from Dominic Mysterio to Dominic Guerrero? You have to think it's going to happen. At some point.
Yeah, good point. That seems like that's somewhere for the picking down the road.
Yeah.
If Vince was still there, it would have already happened.
Yeah, without a doubt.
4V, are you trying to come on? Oh.
Then we have Kevin Owens versus Randy Orton, which it ended in a no contest. The match hadn't even begun before Kevin Owens absolutely lost his mind. Owens attacked Randy Orton's knee with a steel chair as the Viper posed on the ropes, delivered a stunner to the official before assaulting more WWE officials at ringside. Orton followed suit and took out several WWE officials, including delivering an RKO to Raw General Manager Adam Pearce. The two superstars continued their war in the crowd before Owens defied gravity by hitting a huge elbow drop onto Orton through a pair of tables.
Had
So
to be
we
2
got
tables
another
because everything's bigger in Saudi Arabia.
match. Right. Right.
So this is off subject, kind of on subject. The Raw that was in Lexington, like right before the pandemic, like
I was
right before, like weeks before the pandemic.
Yes.
I'm sitting next to this woman and her husband, and her husband's blind at a wrestling show, which is like an interesting combination as is. And Randy Orton came out and she said, "I know you're my husband, but that's my boyfriend. He's so sexy. Look at that butt." And the entire time Randy Orton was wrestling, that's all she was saying. And this blind man is just like sitting there, like clearly upset, but she's like the one with the keys to get home and the ability to drive there. So like she knew that she was like in control, and she just kept saying, look at his butt. But he was blind, and it was like one of the most strange situations of my entire life.
I like it.
Wow.
Yeah, I mean, as far as
every time I talk about Randy Orton, I have to tell that story.
No, that's fair.
That was great.
No, as far as like segment and show, it's like, yeah, I mean, it was what it was. It served its purpose. It was good. I got it.
Yeah. I mean, it did. It enhanced the storyline. I mean, for sure. And we go to the next match of the night. Was the United States Championship match. LA Knight defeated Carmelo Hayes and Andrade in a triple threat match. A chaotic sequence spilled action to the outside of the ring as Andrade hit a shocking moonsault on the champion, followed by Hayes hitting a diving senton. Hayes countered Knight's attempt at a BFT and sent him right into a spinning elbow from Andrade, with Hayes then hitting first 48, but it wasn't enough to secure the championship victory. All three superstars continued to battle, with Knight hitting a double elbow drop from the top rope before he was caught with nothing but net. But the subsequent pinfall was broken up by Andrade. Knight capitalized on Hayes and Andrade's back and forth by hitting a BFT on Hayes, while Andrade got spiked with a facebuster, allowing the champion to retain his title. So no surprise there. I don't feel like that was a surprise at all either. LA Knight retains here. Yeah.
Yeah.
What was everybody's thoughts on that match?
Yeah, it was. Yeah, I mean, it was another one of those matches that it was good. It served its like, whenever you consume so much wrestling, it's like even an adequate or a really good match is just like, yes. And if you get like that, it's just, it's good and acceptable. It's like, and that's where it was. Andrade and Hayes are awesome. Right when Carmelo was brought up to the main roster and they had like their series of 3 or whatever, that was just really great work. I thought they did well together. I did think, I'm not for sure, was it Crown Jewel? Did LA Knight botch one of his jump where he goes, where he, you know, sometimes he jumps up to like the second rope and stuff. He's about to go for a suplex or something. And, you know, every now and then, because he's a human being, he missed it. Did he botch one of those at the pay-per-view? I thought I had, I might be misremembering. But.
Saw that too, I think.
Yeah, there's a lot of that. I mean, he's great. That's a tough one, especially when there are 2 other people up there. But I hope his run keeps going for a while. He's definitely one of those who has been discovered way late in his career and stuff, and is really hitting his pride and, you know, his prime and his stride. And so, yeah. So I just hope he keeps going for him. I think he's where he needs to be right now.
I mean, for a guy that toiled away forever and ever and ever, like LA Knight did, Eli, what was his name?
Eli Drake.
There we go. There we go. For a guy like that to just come out and get his catchphrase over and sell a bajillion t-shirts and like maybe lose a mid-card match every once in a while, maybe win a mid-card title like he is currently, that's got to be the dream, right? Like,
I can see how that would be. Yeah.
Like that's got to be like, I plugged away at this thing forever and ever and ever, and now I can buy my mom a house. Like that's got to be the dream,
Yeah.
Definitely. For sure. Then the main event of the night was the undisputed WWE champion Cody Rhodes defeating the world heavyweight champion Gunther to become the first ever men's Crown Jewel champion. Gunther mauled the undisputed WWE champion to begin the match, using his weight to exhaust Rhodes and keep him pinned down to the mat. The American Nightmare rallied thanks to a deafening crowd, but Gunther picked Rhodes out of the air with ease. Gunther countered the disaster kick into a full Boston Crab before transitioning into a sleeper that he predicted would vanquish Rhodes. Rhodes persevered and managed to hit a pair of crossroads, but it wasn't enough to keep Gunther down, as the World Heavyweight Champion kept coming back for more. The undisputed WWE Champion went for a super Cody cutter, but got caught, only for him to flip his hips to pin Gunther's shoulders to the mat for the 3 count, securing his victory as the first ever men's Crown Jewel champion. The American Nightmare conquered the ring general in front of a frenzied Riyadh crowd.
Yeah.
Riyadh crowd to become the first ever men's Crown Jewel champion. So huge thing right there for Cody Rhodes and also Liv Morgan as well. Thoughts on
Jackman.
Cody?
I was like, is it my turn or is it your turn? So a little bit of backstory. There was once a time in my life where I went through a huge emotional struggle and a breakdown, as some people would call it. I dyed my hair blonde, and I would literally tell people my name was Cody when I met them. Cody Rhodes means, I say all of that to say that Cody Rhodes means a lot to me. I have cried during Cody Rhodes matches. I've cried during Cody Rhodes segments. I love Cody. I love Cody Rhodes. I am a little, having said all of that, in my mind, as a big Cody fan, the first matchup with Gunther, the big program with Gunther, would have happened at WrestleMania or the Royal Rumble. I think it's a little. I get like the point of the Riyadh shows is that you have to get your biggest stars there, and they certainly did that this time around. But for me, I would have really, because I think Gunther and Cody is the next great feud. I would have saved it for an American Sideshow.
I agree. I mean, their match was. How could it not be?
Yeah, exactly.
Gunther is the wrestler that whenever I try and convince someone to like wrestling, I'll sit down, I'll show them, I'm like, oh, wrestling's fit, or that kind of thing. It's like, yeah, watch this. I think you can make an argument, and in my personal, top 10 matches of all time, back when he was Walter in NXT, he fought Ilya Dragunov for the NXT UK title in
one of the all-time great matches, period.
Right when the pandemic started.
Yes.
And that match made me think, oh my God, wrestling can make it through this pandemic.
That match, if you watch that match, it'll make you piss blood. Watching that match will make you fucking piss blood. Like,
it is just unfreaking believable. And all it took was that one match to realize that's where the business is going. And since then, Gunther has been on the straight rocket up there. What really got me with that too, with the Saudi show with him and Cody, is it was like I didn't know who was going to win, but it felt like if I love Cody, I would probably have picked Gunther, but it's like
I love Cody, and I would.
What you're saying, Jackman, the platform felt wrong for this program. This felt like, a WrestleMania or a Royal Rumble, or this is going to build up, for a few months, and the stakes have got to be so high because it's like, okay, that happened.
So what?
What now? And that's always the question you have to be asking yourself in wrestling. And that's kind of the risk of putting a program like that kind of too soon, because if you use it now, then you don't have it for something else. So maybe they're not, who knows what WWE is going to do. They're the juggernaut. They do a lot of stuff right. But I think that maybe not the best time for that match, even though it was an awesome match all the way around. It was A+. And the sleeper hold into a pin finish, if they had to end it that way, I was like, I couldn't think of a better way at that time.
When Cody's cooking, when Cody cooks, he's cooking. And that was Cody cooking, baby.
Yeah.
I love you, Cody. I know you're listening. Love you, bro.
I hope Cody's listening because I too love Cody Rhodes. He's an OVW alumni. I literally watched Cody in OVW. Had the pleasure, the honor, being able to watch him in OVW.
So real quick before
I want to cry right now.
Right, but before we get into OVW, because I'm so excited to get that to you, I'm like Cody's comeback from AEW has been crazy. I remember WrestleMania when he came back as Rollins' surprise opponent. He didn't have anything to go, and that match was so above and beyond. It might have been the best spur of a moment WrestleMania match in history that wasn't announced. They went forever. It was close fall after close fall. Cody picked up the win. And then that led up to Hell in a Cell, where again, he just cemented himself wrestling with that freaking torn pec. Everybody remembers before he was going out. And then he was going out with surgery. And it's like, holy crap. So, ever since he's come back to WWE, he has been.
He. I really think that, whenever you go back and look at it, that him coming out cold at WrestleMania, coming from the other company, will be what they call the beginning of Triple H's era. Because Vince would have never, ever, ever done that. That is so clearly, when you look at it in retrospect, Cody coming out cold at WrestleMania to wrestle Seth Rollins. That's a Triple H move. That's not a Vince move.
Yeah, I would say so.
And I really do think that Cody, and good for him, I just almost waxed poetically until I cried about Cody. I think that will be, one of his big achievements whenever this grand book is written, is that he was the harbinger of the new era.
Yeah. I couldn't agree more. For sure on that one. With that being said, as mentioned, we're not only talking about Crown Jewel tonight, we are talking about OVW Reckoning.
What's that?
OVW Revolution Reckoning.
No, what's that? OVW, what's that?
Ohio Valley Wrestling.
Oh, wait, that's the thing that I host a podcast about. My name is Jackman Ochs. I host a podcast called the OVW Podcast, the unofficial podcast of Ohio Valley Wrestling. I think that's why Ryan had me on tonight. I'm not really sure. It definitely wasn't because of my WWE takes, because they're not very good. But wherever you find your podcast, YouTube, Spotify, et cetera, I host a podcast called the OVW Podcast, the unofficial podcast of Ohio Valley Wrestling.
Yes. And let the fans know about the shows on Wednesday nights as well.
Oh, yeah. So that's the weird thing that I do sometimes. Well, on Wednesdays, specifically from 7 to 8 p.m. Eastern time, is I do this thing called the OVW Fan Zone Live where fans talk back. My name is Jackman. I do this thing. It's just called the OVW Fan Zone Live. It is where fans talk back. My name is Jackman Ochs, and I host it. And it is just kind of like the platform where OVW fans can meet each other, converse with each other, talk about the things they like about OVW, the things they don't like about OVW. And it is honestly the strangest thing that's ever happened to me in my life.
I mean,
it's awesome. I sometimes work for a wrestling company. It's a strange thing.
It's a great time to be a wrestling fan and just someone who is, I mean, obviously I'm a super fan, but someone who's like, outside of, putting the podcast together and stuff, like the fan zone and everyone that goes into it. I mean, it's so much fun and it's interactive and it's a great group. And you guys are setting a really good example and paving the way of people who love wrestling to also just be recognized and, to just talk more about it, darn it, because for some reason, whenever you bleed it, there's just never enough wrestling content. But yes, thank you to OVW and the Fan Zone because you guys make it a lot really, really fun to be a fan.
I really appreciate you saying that. I have like nothing to do. Like I am famously like not on social media. What makes the Fan Zone work on Facebook is a little bit of work from the moderation team, and we're part of the moderation team, me and my colleagues and a couple of other people, but it's mostly just that OVW and wrestling fans in general are so good and so good-hearted that you don't have to worry about moderating every little thing that goes on, baby, because you know that the people are treating each other good. You know that the people are sharing like viable content, stuff that matters. They're not attacking each other. They're not tearing each other down. Every once in a while, you have to take care of somebody. But what makes that space, that OVW Fan Zone space, so great is that it is truly fan run, and that the fans, they don't have a lot of trouble with. There ain't many bad apples, is what I should say. There ain't many bad apples over there. Great group.
Yes, valid. And shout out, speaking of the OVW Fan Zone, shout out to the Wisco Chicks, Wendy and Ren. So shout out to them.
Love them, Wendy and Ren. So great. So great.
Yes, we love them. And then also, one of my co-hosts is actually an alumni of the OVW podcast, as he was on the OVW Fan Zone just a couple weeks ago.
I think you would be talking about I can't remember his name. What's his name?
Madman Chris.
Chris Runyon, that guy. Yeah, I just couldn't for the life of me remember his name. He likes. Well, actually, he's lactose intolerant, right?
He likes cream.
Oh, so he's not lactose. I thought in my mind he was lactose intolerant. In my mind, he's lactose. No, Chris. In all seriousness, Chris knows how much I love Chris.
Yes.
Everyone here knows how much they love Chris.
Yes.
The fans know why they love Chris. Love you, buddy. It is. I'm so sorry that I had to come on your podcast tonight. I'm so sorry that I had to do your job tonight, Chris.
But love him, man. Like seriously, he is just he's exemplary, and he is the model of the ideal fan of what you want to be like. So
yes,
he'll be back, and we love you, man.
He's incredibly intelligent. He's good looking. And that's just what his Tinder profile says. No, I'm just
his Tinder profile. I don't know if his wife's gonna like that or not, but
that's really between them. Maybe I'm speaking up as cool, but no. Chris, I love you, brother. You to quote you guys, to mirror you guys, you exemplify what OVW is.
Mm-hmm.
You exemplify what being an OVW fan is. You exemplify what being a part of this community is. And keep your chin up, buddy. Love you.
Yes, Chris. Like I said at the top of the program tonight or episode, past the Revolution stuff that we're obviously doing on here on the podcast. Much love, brother. You know, I can't wait to have you back on. Hopefully next week. If it needs to be, you know, however long you need, gonna give you that time, brother. All seriousness, I love you, brother. And just praying for you. We're all praying for you and your family.
And Chris, you know, if you can't come back next week, I'll come and ruin your show next week too.
Yeah. Well, gentlemen, I think it's time to jump over to Revolution Reckoning. So go ahead and whoever wants to start us off with the first match in no particular order. It doesn't have to be in no particular order.
I'll say this. For me, I walked away with two matches from that night. Two matches from that night. And it was Dustin Jackson, Don and Cecil.
Yes.
And Ari and Freya.
Let's go with one of those matches first. I do have the other four of the other matches that was announced. So I have those so we can go off of as well.
Sure.
So.
Dustin and Mammoth opened the show, and they, in my opinion, were match of the night. Like, they set the bar so high. They did everything you wanted to do in a match. That is the top tier roster. I mean, Dustin Jackson is having an incredible week. He's got to get in a title picture soon.
Yeah.
But not only did their match go great back and forth, it was something that the audience kind of had to think about almost who they wanted to win, you know, and like see where they were going to fall in their camps. And my Lord, like it was just, no, it was killer. I would say at that point, it was probably the biggest singles victory of Dustin Jackson's career in OVW. And then kind of the tease there of Mammoth getting angry afterwards kind of gets, you know, I mean, but it was just, they killed it. And they know they killed it. They just 2 thumbs up to them. That's it. They opened it. They had the best match of the night. It was a good show, but sorry guys.
So Donovan is like he's a strange cat, right? Like, he is the most humble person that you've ever met, but also the most confident person that you've ever met. And by confident, I mean that he's incredibly aware of what he can and cannot do.
Right.
And I think that comes forth in the wrestling ring. I think that it was on full display against Dustin Jackson. Dustin Jackson is so incredibly athletic. And, you know, his frame, his body type lends itself to that, like, traditional athleticism. Donovan Cecil is traditional athletic in a non-traditionally athletic body.
Mm-hmm.
So whenever you pair these two guys together, they're, of course, going to rub against each other like two opposite ends of a magnet.
Cecil is in a rare breed of athleticism where you have the build and you have the agility. And seeing him live every week, it's like never. I mean, whenever Mammoth's walking down to the ring, are you ever like, oh gosh, I'm gonna have to sit through this match? Like, I mean, it's just he brings it every single time, and I can't wait to see for both of these guys. They're both at the top of their game. They were awesome.
Yes, match of the evening. If you watch, as I like to say, if you watch one match from the night, make sure it's this one.
Yeah.
Yes. again, as you pointed out, the crowd had a difficult time choosing who they wanted to go for.
Yeah.
Dustin was a Mammoth. We were back and forth. It was literally back and forth.
Yeah.
The crowd, the atmosphere was great. Like I said, everyone going for Dustin and going for Mammoth, and the crowd split down the middle pretty much. And then Dustin pulling out the victory here. Again, huge win. As you said, Neil. That was a absolutely huge win. Biggest win of his singles career, I'd say, too, as well.
And what was that pinning predicament? Like, what was that? Was that like a front headlock takeover? An inverse front headlock takeover into a small package? Like, was that what that was?
Yeah, it was a raw, or it was he snuck a pin in there really quick.
To put it in the broadest sense humanly possible while still describing what happened, he snuck a pin in there.
Yeah. He did. He snuck a pin in there and got the win. Again, we're not going in any particular order here. We'll come back to the Ari match, but first I want to talk about the two masked men, if you will, of OVW. The OVW Rush Division champion, Star Rider. The title was not on the line, taking on Super Z, OVW's resident superhero, Super Z. This was another really good match. This was another one where it wasn't split down the middle, but
yeah,
you know, it was,
I saw Z after it and told him, and their match was solid. It's funny because like my thought process as a fan is because they were the second match of the night, so freaking DJ and Cecil had their match. And my literal thought was like, man, I wouldn't want to follow that. And then it's Super Z and Star Rider coming down. And but they got the crowd going. They had a lot of really good spots. It was really well paced. They told the story. They got the cape. They got in. It was a very well executed match. And they did it at a time where it was tough act to follow or to go out afterwards, but they both were pretty consummate professionals. And I mean, they're never like bad in the ring. I mean, those are two of the most talented guys on the roster, and they delivered everything that I think that match needed to be for the second match on that card.
Yes, so, I completely agree.
For me, I think that there is a little with Super Z and Star Rider, a little Guerrero Mysterio WCW energy, where it's just like, hey, we don't know exactly what's going on, but we know that these two guys will give us what we want. And I think that was Guerrero Mysterio booking through a lot of WCW. It wasn't really until they got to WWE that they got to be like stars, right? In WCW, they were just mid-card guys, cruiserweight guys. And I think that kind of leads me into like my next question about Super Z in general. And you know, I wouldn't say this on my regular show because they get mad at me, but I can't help but think that Super Z as a character, that there's a little bit of how should I put this? I don't think that he's the character that he could be. And it's not his fault. I think it's the booking fault. I think it's the booking's fault. It's not his fault at all. It's not the performer's fault. It's not Zach's fault. It's the booking of Super Z. Do you guys ever feel as if he's a little wishy-washy or misguided?
So I think maybe could be utilized a little better. I think it's better if we look at his time at OVW when I first started becoming, you know, what they call the faithfuls and making, you know, almost every show that I human possibly could.
Well, and everybody knows you.
He was a zombie.
Everybody knows you. You are indeed one of the quote unquote faithful.
Thank you. I appreciate it. But like whenever he was the zombie, and he didn't really have the crowd over at first. Whenever I'll never forget, he had a match against the Outrunners, and he was like on top of the Outrunners' shoulders, and he spun around and he was wah! And it was like this whole dizzy zombie thing, and that really kind of got him over.
Zombie. Who was that zombie?
Ryan.
Right. Okay, sorry, you got me there. Or no,
there's a guy there was a guy that was a zombie that's about Super Z's and Zachary D. Pittman III's height and weight.
It's a coincidence. I'm sorry.
It is coincidence. It's okay.
Well, hold up. I'll connect this storyline because technically you can't say it's the same person because he went to a psychologist who analyzed him, I believe is what happened. And this zombie guy realized that he was a journalist and then became a superhero.
I think he got bonked on the head real hard.
Oh, okay. Yeah, cool.
And then he got two different personalities out of one for some reason.
As a wrestling promotion, OVW and family-based promotions like that need that type of character or stuff to fill in, and Zach's doing a perfect job with it. I think that sometimes he's used better than others, but it's another thing that I think, it's got some time left on it, but I think it's getting to the point of what's next for him that I'm really getting, excited to see. I believe in the future that, he's building his time up, but I've seen some of his other work and I know that he has a future in singles competition in wrestling. I thoroughly believe that.
For what it's worth, you've probably seen more of his single stuff than I ever have. And then also I just I love that you touched on family-based promotion, because Super Z, it didn't matter what creative direction that some idiot white boy on the internet in his mid-30s wanted him to take. He sold a bunch of merch. The kids got behind him immediately.
Yeah.
So what do I actually know?
Yeah, someone's got to do it, and he's doing a good job, and he looks like he's having a good time. Which as long as that's important, you don't want the wrestler to get to the point where they're like, oh my God, why do I? And, he doesn't seem like he's there yet. I hope he doesn't get to that point. But whatever's next for him is what has me excited.
You cannot, whether it be a wrestling gimmick or like a relationship, you do not come back from despisement. And it does not seem like he despises his gimmick right now.
No.
Yes.
He's got to be riding high.
So then one of the next matches that we have before we get to Ari and Freya, there was Eric Surge, newcomer to OVW, and I'm going to call him. I called him this as I was watching Rise the other night. I called him the knockoff Omar Amir because he legit looks like a knockoff Omar Amir. So Eric Surge versus Adam
he does look like Omar Amir's cousin.
Yes, at least something like that.
Like the Omar Amir's cousin that he's calling specifically for the reason to beat your ass.
Yes.
At least that's like what went down when I was growing up. Like if anyone was on the phone with their cousin, someone was getting their ass beat.
Right. And this was a surprise to me. The outcome of that match was a surprise to me. Although I guess I shouldn't say it was a surprise, because Pleather Daddy Doug got involved. And or no, was it Shannon? It was either Shannon. I think it was Shannon actually. It was Shannon that got involved and distracted Adam. And so not really a surprise, but
so maybe we can make this up. Now that it's just me and you guys talking, right? One of my biggest dreams has been to challenge Shannon for the Radio Heavyweight Championship.
There you go, man.
I've dedicated over a third of my life to the radio. That's true. That's not a gimmick. Like, it's not just podcasting. I'm on the radio, have been for over a decade, over a third of my life. one of my biggest dreams is just go up there and slap the mother effing piss out of Shannon. It's one good time.
Dream big.
Well, I'll dream medium if I'm talking about Shannon.
I mean, his self-appointed belt is smart. It's funny.
One of the greatest fucking heel tactics I've ever seen, right?
Yeah, it really is. And I hope that doesn't go away. As far as Adam's face push, I get they're going for it. I don't think it's quite there yet. Kind of the relationship between Adam and Breakdown is there's not a whole lot of time that's been really spent on that or fleshing any of that, which is kind of the time. And, it's one of the challenges of programming too. One of the best things about OVW is their pacing and their tightness, especially in the matches and something like that, and getting that through and stuff. Fleshing out the creative is something that, we wish we'd get a little more sometimes in some areas. And I think that's that. I don't know. I think it's going to take a little story or segment to get Adam over a little bit longer than just coming out for matches. Right. I'm not sure what that would be or anything yet, but I think the fan base doesn't seem to be like, oh yeah, we like this guy now. So I think it's going to take a little bit in the creative department to make that work the rest of the way.
The OVW fan base is like incredibly smart and like incredibly sentimental. Like they remember everything that you've ever done. So when you're an Adam Revolver, you're already working like uphill. You're running up that hill. That song from the Stranger Things. I never watched Stranger Things. That Kate Bush song. With Adam Revolver specifically, I think it's a really interesting case study that they took 2 months off of TV. Were forced into a make or break situation to come back to TV 3 days before the biggest pay-per-view in company history. And that was 2 months off of TV. That's 8 weeks. They've been back for approximately 8 weeks. My ultimate point, I guess, in pointing those two numbers out is that they had to work. They started at -8. They're working their way back to 0. So with some of these angles, I think it's completely understandable as a fan to not be invested in it, for Adam Revolver to not be a full babyface yet, because they literally this past week, in my mind, just got back to 0, just got back to neutral in terms of booking.
That is a really good point. I mean, and I'm glad they did. Most people who are listening probably know, but whenever Davis Arena didn't have an air conditioning and closed down for several weeks during the summer, it was the right call to make.
Absolutely.
Like I was genuinely getting worried about someone in there. That Revolution pay-per-view, there were a couple that were just sitting by some fans. It's like, good Lord, yeah, it was getting bad. But it has been. Oh no, it's fine. It's been great recovery since then, but that has with the angles a little bit. So you're right, they are getting back from that, and what a thing to have to overcome before their biggest pay-per-view, which was fantastic.
Yeah. Like no, not like I love the Pikeville show. I love the Pikeville show, and like none of this is when I say this, none of it is a critique. It's just an understanding. It's an admittance of where we are and where the company is, right? Yeah. It's funny that you mentioned the air conditioning. So I have a really good friend, Paul. He's not listening. He doesn't listen to anything I do, but he's a really good friend. And he texted me one week and he said, I think that wrestling thing that you go to is next to where I work. Because if you've been to Davis, it's factories, right? Yeah. And then a couple weeks later, he was like, hey, I got like the night off. Can, are you going to wrestling tonight? And I was like, no, someone stole the air conditioning. So like, there's no wrestling. And he texted back, someone stole the air conditioning to every single building in that complex. because he was working there. So like, it wasn't just Davis. Like Davis,
Yeah, I didn't realize that. Holy mackerel!
Like that's, I guess, like I only say that to like provide some context for what actually happened over the summer. Like it was someone's cheap, petty, quick payday that put OVW out for 2 months. It was someone's copper scheme that put OVW out for 2 months.
What?
Yeah. They stole, because those, I mean, you guys know. Well, maybe you don't. I've never stolen copper, but I used to strip copper to recycle when I was growing up. Like copper it's never worth a time, but when you have it, it's good money. Those industrial air conditioners are filled with copper, and someone just went through one night and popped every single one and took, what is that? Probably 10 buildings over there.
Yeah.
10 buildings worth of industrial air conditioning copper. And that's why ultimately OVW went out over the summer, is some petty thief who made probably $25 off the whole load. Put them out.
That asshole ruined my Thursday 12 weeks in a row.
No, you ruined my Thursday. You ruined the Keith Silvas of the world's Thursdays. And that's really who you should apologize to. If you were the person who stole that copper, it's his beautiful family.
Yeah.
Moving on.
The next match, let's go ahead and talk about one of the others. I'm sure we're going to call match of the night: Ari Alexander versus Freya Veslaya. Yes, let's give them a clap because that one was freaking amazing.
Golly, gals, you fucking killed it. Sorry, I feel like I've really I feel like I've reversed the Final Count podcast. I feel like I've done irreparable damage to the Final Count podcast's reputation with my language tonight, and I'm very sorry.
You're okay.
But it's been a rough week for everybody. My presidential candidate didn't win. I wrote in my cat, and they didn't win, and it's just been a rough week for everybody.
Darn. Man.
Yeah, it stinks. I mean, wrestling is one of the last few vestiges where, like, everyone just comes together and does that. And
it just sucks. 4B couldn't win.
So sorry, I'll say it because we're not going to go over political. I will say that what's great or what's not good is that roughly, no matter what happened this election, roughly half the country wasn't really going to be happy with it. And so I think we're past this point to where we just all need to like not be like meh, 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 win, lose in each other's faces and just chill out. And wrestling is a great place that, even though, I mean, obviously has incredible deep conservative roots and stuff, has become a little more, multicultural and stuff like that. But it's one of the last few places where people really come and put politics aside and have a good time. So that's my hope. Wrestling will keep doing that.
Yes.
So whenever I started bringing people to wrestling, OVW shows mostly, I would always say, no, like, this is like a music festival. Like, everyone is friends. Everyone's on the same page. We just, we cheer the people we don't, to quote Eric Corners. We cheer the people we like. We boo the people that we don't. Like, everyone here is, here to be friends. And we're all, different, whether it be gender, sex, race, political affiliation, whatever. But, there is something I think really, really, truly special about wrestling where it all fucking goes away. It is Bonnaroo for 2 hours at Davis Arena. It is, these are just your friends. They're just people that you like. There's just people that you agree with. And it all goes away for a couple hours.
There's something I've said for years, as long as I've been going to OVW. And I've been going to OVW since October of 2004. I've said it plenty of times, and I'll continue to say it. I've always looked at OVW as a family, and it legit is a family. No matter who's new there, and mind you, there was a time I was going to every single, back in the day, WWE developmental days, it was every single Wednesday night. It was free to get in every Wednesday night. Then they would have what's called Derby City Wrestling, DCW, on Thursdays. And then I'd go to, that's when they would start to have you pay for they were starting to have you pay towards the end. I believe this was actually in 2008 they started to have you pay, because March of 2008 WWE pulled out. So Thursday nights were like $2. Wednesday nights were $2. Then it eventually went up and up and up and whatnot, but whatever. Eventually I wasn't able to go every single week. And then, so, you still have those fans that were there that you knew them. And, you knew those fans. Maybe you didn't know other ones, but you got to know those other ones. Mm-hmm. Then you get up to 2020 and past the pandemic and everything. The pandemic hits and everything. You get past that, you get to where we are now, the Netflix days. I didn't know Keith Silva, for example.
The GOAT, you mean? I think
the Godfather of OVW. I did not know him. Did not know who are going to be our the first ever Final Count fans of the month for the month of November. Gracie and Wes. I did not know them. I did not know, I did not know Jackman. I didn't know you. I didn't know Brian Hines. I didn't know Tiny Brian. I didn't know Neil.
Chris,
I didn't know
Rocco.
Yeah. I didn't know Rocco.
Yeah,
I didn't know
Chris.
A lot of people that are there now. So many more that I could name. And I didn't know you, but then I started to get friend requests from people. I started friend requesting other people and stuff, and on Facebook and whatnot, or started just getting to meet people at OVW again. And either way, no matter how long you've known them, not to make this a long thing, but you become family. It's still a family environment. You're still family at OVW.
Yep.
So this is a true story, and you just got a new phone number, Ryan. So you know what I'm about to say, but I know two Ryan Mosleys.
Mm-hmm.
And when we first started the OVW podcast, the unofficial podcast of OVW Wrestling, wherever you get your podcast, we got a message from you, and I was like, "Oh no, that's my friend Ryan Mosley, who's fucking around with us." And then I got shown a picture of you. I was like, "That's not him. That's not the guy that I know." And then for me, that's kind of where our friendship started. Mm-hmm. Was like just us tangentially becoming aware of each other through podcasting. You know, like it's been a blast. And I do want to say thank you for having me on tonight. Seriously.
Definitely.
Thanks. Thank you for thinking of me.
Yes. You're welcome. You're welcome.
And then Neil, I think Neil's all right, but don't tell him that.
It's cool. No worries. But yeah, no, Freya and Ari, golly. Yeah, they had a fantastic match.
Thank you, Neil, for keeping us on. Thank you. You should do this for a living.
Yes.
It's all right. Just go out on we'll just go. But no, I mean, that had everything, man. That had good technical work. It had good rope work. There was some ground and pound. There was some turnbuckle. There was a moment, I think it was Ari was diving to the outside of the ring and caught this boot that Freya and it looked so good. Everything about that
was one of the craziest sells I've ever seen. That boot from the Ari's, Freya's on the outside. Ari's maybe trying to tope her or something like that. And Freya just puts her foot up in the air, right? And Ari turns inside out all three ropes somehow. It was one of the craziest fucking.
Yeah. It's okay.
I'm gonna watch my language. It was one of the craziest effing sells I've ever seen in my life, dog.
That German suplex off the ring apron did it for me.
Yeah.
That was absolutely. That was Kurt Angle-esque type of match.
Yeah. Oh, I love that. Yeah, the physicality from Ari, absolutely.
Yeah.
I love that. Yeah. So it's funny because I guess the first time I ever interviewed Al was like 8 years. Like I've known Al for a decent amount of time, really only in 20-minute spurts, you know? But one of the things, like the couple of times that I've been out to like lunch with him or whatever, he says is, "Oh, no, I don't let him do spots on the apron. There's no reason. It's very dangerous." And then Ari and Freya hit the most blatant apron spot I've ever seen in my life during this match. Yeah. And I was just like, I really wanted to be like, Al, are you sure? You don't let him do the apron spots? Because this was literally the most brutal apron spot I've ever seen.
It was devastating.
Who knows? Maybe he got mad.
He could have.
You guys go out there and do whatever you want.
That actually sounds really like Al.
I don't know which match
that we're
going to the next one. We got 2 matches from the pay-per-view. The EC3 championship match. Let's do that one first.
Yes. Neil, I'm going to let you take care of it. I'm going to be right back.
Overall, it was good. I thought decent. Needed. It didn't go where I thought it was going for a second.
Not at all.
So, like, you have Will Austin, you have Jay, you have Tony, like, all in a ring. And especially whenever Doug ramped up and he's like, it's going to be $20,000 for that bounty. There was a part of me that was thinking, dude, what if all 3 of them just freaking clobbered EC and pinned them at the same time? And like that.
Oh my God. I love that. I never would have come up with that. I love that.
So what I was thinking or hoping, and sorry, it's my, if I was writing or if I was the.
No, that's what I'm here for. That's what I'm here for.
I would have had them do that. And then that would have really thrown a wrench in the revolution because, you know, all of a sudden it's like, I don't have $60,000 or whatever, you know, and with December or whatever. But I thought that's where they were going. I think right now in OVW, there is a faction void kind of with the Overmen, Bad Girls Club that kind of dissipated. I know it's like the revolution, but I thought for so long that like with OVW and Revolution that somehow maybe Will, Jay, and Tony could be like this renegade, like this third group that no one wanted, and like could be this almost like Kevin Owens, Steve Austin style like face stable, which I'm still kind of hoping they'll do that, you know, at some point. But I'm looking at the 3 of them together, and at least with the story of how like Revolution OVW has been going, they're kind of the outcast group, and I think leaning into that is going to be fun, and maybe Jay finally leaving Tony. But that was, yeah, creatively, that is kind of what I was thinking, maybe.
So I really love what you call the renegade group, this outcast group, because I think that inside of the OVW versus Revolution storyline that's being told, that there is the Revolution are, you know, there's a reason that they, you know, it's airtight, right?
Right.
The OVW side of things is not as airtight. There's still a lot of division that happens over on that side. There's still a lot of division to happen on that side. I think that throwing someone in to like having a character or a group of characters to explore that division is great booking and smart booking.
And if anyone was going to do it, it's got to be the 3 of them. And I thought, and
yes.
ultimately, but whenever Will, like, he was in and out and stuff, but whenever he was like outcast from the Revolution, he tried to join, and they're like, oh no, you're kicked out, you're going to OVW. That's kind of where I thought they were going. It's like, oh man, he doesn't have anywhere, so they could still play into that. But yeah, that's
and Will is probably at his best. He's a heel that has the capability to wrestle like a babyface, but does not have the capability. And again, I don't say this on my own show. I'm over on your guys' show. I'm over on Ryan's show. Poor Ryan just joined us again. I'm over on Ryan's show saying this. He's a guy who can wrestle like a babyface, but does not have the capability to connect with the audience in the way that is necessary for an OVW babyface to do it.
Mm-hmm.
He's getting there, and I think he can figure it out. I've always cheered against
you know what he really needs,
and he's great. His corkscrew crossbody is perfection.
Oh my god, amazing! Oh my god,
like I mean, he's got that is one of the best rope moves that they've got on the roster right now. Will
what
Austin
he really needs to do is shave his head.
But see, it's the character, because all this time I've been watching him too.
No, I love that. Like, no, you're dude. Oh yes,
he needs someone like Jay and Tony or some other group to help him transition. He's not. I don't think he's really going to get there by himself. He's going to need a different group or someone else to really mesh into.
Baby, I love it.
Yeah, talk to him. That's totally Jay, Tony, and Will. Man, they need to be this renegade group that's not OVW or Revolution. Like if there was a night when OVW and Revolution were fighting and Tony and Will and them came out and trashed everyone, holy crap. They would be the most over out of all of them.
Tony's probably the only other guy with worse hairline than Will. So, it would make Will a baby face in that way too, because he would inevitably have more hair than Tony.
There you go.
Just call them the Renegades.
I say with my look at this exceeding hairline. I'm over here making fun of Will Austin with this thing going on.
And I know probably next we don't want to go into it super at length, but main event of Revolution Reckoning.
That one. Let's go into Mount Kadeem versus Cash Flow.
Oh, right.
And this was really not really much of a match, more of a squash.
I thought Cash was incredibly protected for what it's worth.
Yeah. But it was.
But it was a squash-a-roni for sure.
Yeah.
Why was just kind of my question. It wasn't bad. It was just like I just wasn't sure what that really did.
Yeah. Besides, make the Revolution look more dominant. I mean.
My thing with Cash, anytime he's booked in anything right now, is he's always being booked to be written out of something.
Yeah.
And I think that's like, the Tulsa King effect. Like I have to go do media. I have to be, back when we were growing up, guys, they used to take 2 years in between seasons of TV shows. Now they take 2 months. I think that the booking of Cash recently is that they don't know when he's going to be there. They have no way of knowing when he's going to be there. They have no way of booking him consistently. And thank God OVW, and I'm not even religious, but thank God OVW is the type of place that allows their people to go make better money elsewhere and to build their profile elsewhere.
Right. I mean, Cash is a veteran, and even like whenever they use him there, he's entertaining and stuff. And it's like whenever you get to be at that age, it's like you got to transition to acting or something else, especially. And I mean, I know that the Wrestlers docuseries really propelled him.
So,
and I'm so happy for him, and the fact that he's still back, even working these storylines and still showing up, performing week is awesome.
I don't know if you guys know this, but the reason he's on Tulsa King was because Sylvester Stallone saw him on Wrestlers.
Oh, I guarantee it.
And I like to call him Mike. Cash. Me and Mike go back a long way. No, I'm just kidding. Cash has a manager, and Sylvester Stallone sees him on Wrestlers on Netflix and says, I want that guy for Tulsa King. And within an hour, Sylvester Stallone's manager has Cashflow's manager's number, and Cashflow's on Tulsa King. So like that, I think that really
Awesome.
speaks to the presence of cash flow too.
Yes.
Is like,
Yeah.
you're one of the biggest stars of all time. Literally for 50 years, you're Sylvester Stallone. 50 years. You're relevant for 50 years. There's people in Hollywood that can't stay relevant for 5 minutes.
Mm-hmm.
He's
Yep.
been relevant for 50 years, and he says, I want you. That means a lot. And while I'm finishing out this point, the other wrestler that Sylvester Stallone wanted to be on screen with him, handpicked, was Hulk Hogan in Rocky 2.
Wow. So you,
Yeah, so obviously the guy knows a little bit.
yeah, and you put Cash in a field at the same club with Hulk Hogan.
Yeah.
That's saying major things.
Yeah, the Hulk Hogan, Sylvester Stallone Cash Flow Club. That's a club I'd want to be in.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Most definitely. Then we jump over to the main event, which was supposed, and I'll say supposed to be because it really wasn't. Not necessarily. I don't think it necessarily to be. I don't know who you put the blame on for this.
So was it supposed to be the so? And I mean, sure, I'm sure Evan can say, you know, whatever afterwards. So my thing is being there live. There are technical issues that happen sometimes. That's just a
Right.
bummer, but you know that it happens, and it's one of those where it's like I wonder why, like,
Why not
before-
pre-tape it?
So basically, yeah, exactly. What happened is they were trying to live stream it, and if you were watching the pay-per-view, I think it might have been laggy, but you might have seen it clearly. If you were in the arena watching it live, you were seeing blank screens and pixels for like 11 minutes, and it wasn't good. That crap happens. It's awful. But there have been several times whenever the tech has really gotten them when they've relied on it for a big moment. One of the last times I could think was the reveal of Doug, you know, being the leader of the Revolution. He had like Al knocked out and stuff. Whenever you're there at the show and like it came up, the sound was out.
Mhm.
And so like you kind of saw it and it was just, I don't know why. And especially if it's a pay-per-view, a lot of people want to see like a wrestling match. So I don't think it was just that as much as like they wanted to stick that at the end as opposed to maybe an opener or the middle. I can't speak to that, but they're trying to make Cal more vicious. That worked in the end. Unfortunately, you know, technical issues kind of roughed it up on top of people saying a taped match maybe shouldn't be the main event of a pay-per-view, which I think is a fair sentiment.
Yeah.
I actually would not change anything that you said. Other than I would add that what we did see was incredibly ambitious. Like AEW, WWE, the pandemic, that era really raised the bar for pre-tape matches, for cinematic matches.
Oh, yeah.
I'm not saying that this was a cinematic match, but like I look back to one of the golden examples of pandemic era wrestling, which was the Best Friends and Proud and Powerful Street Fight. And I thought that this had a lot of the energy of that match. It was so ambitious and so cool and so fun. But like you said, it looked like a fucking Renoir painting out there. It was not presented in a way that wrestling is presented. What we saw,
yeah, and I mean, being there, I guess it was better on pay-per-view. But live, there was nothing like you couldn't even tell that there was ambition because you literally couldn't see or hear like anything. Like it would be like kind of a black screen, and then you see like Cal for half a second, and then you see a trash can, and then it just pixel and be nothing, and then you see someone laying on the ground for 1 second. So it was really impossible to draw anything, out of it.
That's why I'd like not to like bite back at your point, but to reinforce it. That's why I say what we saw was incredibly ambitious.
Right.
I could piece together what they were going for, but what I was presented was hot trash and garbage.
Yeah.
It was a Renoir painting. It was a Monet. It was impressionist. It was fucking France in 1880. And guess what? It's 2024 in America, and I ain't interested.
Yeah, and I mean, also, it's one of those things that it's like, it's nothing that I'm sure OVW doesn't know.
Oh, dude, there was not a single person there, whether they be a fan, a performer, or a backstage, entity. There was not a single person there that was not mad about that.
Yeah, you could feel that a little bit.
Oh yeah, the crowd was legit. I felt like,
well, dude. Okay, so like most of OVW pay-per-views go a solid 3. This one cut out, I think, at like 235, 238, and I know in my heart of hearts that the reason it got short was because they said, let's bring it inside and quit this fucking shit now.
Yeah.
So
again, I'm sorry, all the Final Count listeners. I have a potty mouth. I'm so sorry.
You're okay.
So it wasn't pre-taped then. What they were doing is they were really live streaming and they were performing live out in the street, but the connection was just off on the inside.
Yes.
Okay. Yeah.
So so I watched it. I did not go live. Just a weird week in general, wasn't able to go live. I don't drive also, so I wasn't able to go live. But on the YouTube version that I watched as my version to review this pay-per-view, the top comment was like, OVW has 4 cameras, and I don't know why they use glitch cam for the outside main event. And like, to me, that means that somebody watches a lot more OVW than I do, first off. But it also means that like the consistent fans of this product know what you're doing and why things happen the way that they're happening. And then you use this device for your main event of the night, an otherwise great pay-per-view, an otherwise great main event. But you soiled everything by using this camera. I mean, we have literally probably at this point talked about this effing camera longer than the match went on.
Yeah.
Can't win them all.
True. Then once they finally did get the, I don't know if you'd call it even a match even anymore.
Yeah, because the ending was odd too, because the ref like stopped the match instead of. That's what I thought was weird, because it's just like, wouldn't you just like declare him the winner by stoppage or something?
Right. Which it makes sense why he did it. I get that point, but there still should have been, if it was technically a match, it still should have been a winner.
Yeah, and Cal's losing the fanny pack. I think that's kind of, the big thing of obviously where this is going. He hasn't worn it, for a while, and we're gonna see kind of this vicious, dark side of him. I'm interested to see if they don't go into heel territory. I'm really excited to see what's up for Cal, because he's definitely a phenomenal mainstay and has had some of the best matches throughout the year I've gone, and is fantastic. I'm sorry that main event, didn't work out super well for him, but going into Rise the next time, was better. And I mean, he's going to be cool.
Did you ever watch ROH era Cody?
Oh, which one? I'm sorry.
ROH era Cody, where he was a heel, but also a baby face, but also a heel, but also a baby face. Like, I think that's where we're headed with Cal, is this like
a neutral.
Well, the thing with Cody was always like, I have to make you take me seriously. And I think that Cal in OVW right now is at the like perfect point when he's making a turn. Turns don't happen. When turns happen in your real life, you're not automatically the greatest guy in all of the land because someone pissed you off, and vice versa. I think that Cody is like this like grandmaster of the realistic turn. I think that Cal is like the next. the next like person in that school. They're both trained by Al. I think that there's something about Al's training that kind of insists upon the idea of when you turn, you're not automatically a great guy because you just turned.
Right.
I think that, you know, like I said, I think Cody does that. I think Cal is doing that right now. It's like, here's a little bit of me. Here's a little bit more of me. Here's a little bit more of me. Until you're just me. You know, like whenever you get a new girlfriend.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, and you're just like, I need to protect my character at the beginning. And then eventually you just let all of it out and she breaks up with you.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, is that just me? Is that just me?
No, that's facts. Well, that wraps up OVW Reckoning. Let's kind of quickly go through OVW Rise from this past week. What we got for OVW Rise? What do y'all want to talk about from Rise from this past week?
One thing I'll say real quick, sorry, and I can't remember if it was on the Rise itself or if it was one of the taped matches for Overdrive, but Mammoth, again, having a hell of a match and breaking out what I pray is a new finishing move. Like, I don't know if you saw how that match ended. A freaking released F5 was what I call it, because like he picked him up and just, and it was like a pizza dough toss, and he gave him release F5. And like, one thing I love in wrestling in general that I hope OVW can get into a little bit more, or like the names of finishers and timeline stuff, but like that's what I want to know. What I thought from that is when Mammoth did that move, I'm like, what is that called? And please keep doing that, because it when you're a diehard wrestling fan and you see something you haven't seen before, it's pretty damn special. It doesn't matter when it happens.
Yeah.
But just when you see something you haven't seen, and I have never seen a release finisher like that, where it's just like this bench press toss. It was awesome. Anyway, sorry, I don't know if that was Rise or Overdrive, but that happened Thursday.
So like,
kind of
talk about like when you're a wrestling fan, you just like see something crazy. Like, in Lexington, WoW comes on before OVW on Sundays, and I watch Women of Wrestling because it's 2 hours of wrestling, right? OVW and WoW. TW3 works for WoW nowadays, by the way. Shout out to him.
Yes.
But like, there will be literally things I've never seen. I've watched a lot of wrestling. I've watched it. I've watched 90s All Japan. Like, if you haven't, I've watched it. And every once in a while on WoW, I'll see something that I'm just like, oh my God, I've never seen that before. And then the next match is the most drizzly bullshit I've ever seen in my life. And like, I think that is like the beauty of wrestling, is like you live to see that one moment again. Like that thing that blows your mind for the first time, the 10th time.
Right.
You know?
That that opening segment of Rise 2, I'm trying, I feel bad. I'm trying to remember her name, this new, because we got a new character now.
Well, so Doug Basham.
Miss Katie Gannon?
Katie Gannon.
Yeah.
Doug Basham kicks off.
Miss Gannon with the cannon?
Yes.
As Beaches and Cream called her?
Yeah, exactly.
I would
Doug
never
Basham
refer to a woman like that. That was all totally Beaches and Cream.
Says that he's basically getting some R&R, some rest and relaxation.
Out by the palm tree.
Yeah, out by the palm tree, exactly. The Revolution's already in the ring.
Doug's self-filmed cell phone camera videos are much better than EC3's. I will say that.
I'll give him that.
I will say that.
I'll give him that for sure. Then we get the Revolution's already in the ring. Miss Katie Gannon is announced or brought to the ring.
Miss Katie OMG.
Katie OMG Gannon. the Blockbusters help her in the ring and whatnot, and she's basically like, "Hey, I'm here to make sure that OVW is ran the way, and this dream that Doug has is basically comes to fruition."
So
For lack of a better way of saying it.
you guys want to hear a story that I might get in trouble for?
Do you want it
Sure,
to
why
come
not?
out?
Yeah, no, I'm gonna tell it because it's a good ass story.
All right.
So
I mean,
there was, you remember prior to Freya's wedding when you first saw kind of the meeting of the Bad Girls Club. That's also where you first saw Crystal and Katie for the first time as a tag team. I know for a fact, I will not say who I heard it from, just in case, I have to protect my reputation. But I know for a fact that there was a creative meeting where Leather Daddy Doug himself said, we need some hot girls in here. We need to get some hot girls. And what happened was Katie and Crystal got booked. That is a true story. I know that to be true.
wow.
Yeah. So I only say that to say this. I love that in storyline, Doug leaving and putting someone in charge was literally someone who only got booked because he was like, we need some hot girls with big tits.
That's great.
Yeah, I'm like I said, I'm not gonna say that on the Mod Show, the OVW podcast, the unofficial podcast of wrestling, wherever you find your podcast. But I will say that here on the Final Count podcast, the finest wrestling podcast out there that's not mine.
Hey, we'll take it.
So yeah, decent opening segment. Gosh, what other matches do they have?
Well, so speaking of Crystal, so J-Rod versus Crystal, and I wouldn't really necessarily call this a match because it was over just like that.
Yeah.
Ugly. How does he say it? Ball and shoe ugly.
Yeah.
Did not make Crystal look great. Make J-Rod look like a billionaire.
Mm-hmm.
But
yeah, I was kind of hoping for more of not such a squash, but for whatever reason, I understand they did it that way. It was one of those segments where you're like, I wish, you could have given Crystal maybe a little more. Obviously, she's not going to go over or anything, but sometimes you just go out there and you get squashed. That's how it goes.
Exactly.
No, I absolutely agree with that. There is no small effort in losing. Losing is an amazing ability in the wrestling business.
Yeah.
But do you think that they're building toward Crystal and Katie, or what are they doing with this whole thing, Neil?
I don't know.
Me neither. That's why I asked you.
Well, so here's the thing. I guess it might be that in some time, but it's kind of still the smaller connective threads they're working on with the story, because there will be characters that will kind of be brought in there, dropped. Like right after Doug Basham was revealed and took over, they sent in that lawyer guy, when Al was in a coma and stuff. And I thought we might see some more litigation and stuff like that.
Sure.
But again, at the same time, it's one of those that you don't know what's going to get kind of dropped or what they're going to come back to. And OVW also has these things that they know what fans think. So they'll go back around and they'll pick it up and stuff like that. Generally, if I think I know where someone's going, I'll say it. For this angle, it's I'm not sure what they got. There might be some play, I might not. I'm excited to see, but no speculation.
Ryan?
Yeah, I don't know where you do go with this. I think you have to have a big blowout match. I'm hoping we get Christmas Chaos back this year.
It's time.
Yeah, and that we get possibly a cage match, War Games cage match or something.
Nice.
I say you need to bring in somebody, and because what we have now in OVW, not to diminish the roster or anything, but I mean, obviously we're seeing it on TV week after week. Who can stop the Revolution? So somebody has to be brought in from the outside, whether that's bringing in some big former WWE star or something like that that's been in OVW that looks like they could legitimately take out the Revolution.
Well, pie in the sky for you, Ryan. Who is that?
That's a good it's a really good question.
Or you could just make OVW just kind of a stronger group. I thought because last week you had a couple moments where like OVW people were getting beaten down and stuff, and it's just like they're coming with some like, all right, OVW locker room, where are the rest of the faces going to come running out here? And they finally did at the very end of the show for that one. But it seems like the Revolution, they're tighter. There's always on standby faster and stuff like that. But
speaking of all of the faces running out, can I say one of the funniest things I've ever seen in the history of my fandom as a wrestling fan?
What's that?
Was Icon Lee trying to beat up Mount Kadim.
Yeah.
What were you thinking, little boy? Like, what are you thinking, brother? Like, he was.
One match on Rise.
I'll say this on this show, not my show. He was thinking, if I attack Mount Kadim, I'll get on the camera. Anyway, sorry, Neil. Go ahead.
No, another match to hit that we liked that, gosh, I hope we get more we talk story, but was the Will Austin and the Tony Evans match was very interesting. Mm-hmm. One of those fun ones, too, because they literally went from that crowd chanting, "You both suck" to "This is awesome," and like, a 3-minute turnover there for a second.
Well, but tying it back into like what we were like talking about, like weird wrestling fan moments, like. Yeah, like Will Austin versus Tony Evans is a weird wrestling fan moment because you're forced to root for one of them.
Yeah, I know.
Like,
and everyone was giving them crap and stuff, but yeah.
And it is like a truly 50-50 split if you're in the wrestling audience on who, like, are you going to go with the athletic guy or are you going to go with the mouthy guy? Like, you don't like either one of them. Neither one of them are prettier than you, really, when it comes down to it. Like, no, I could watch those two wrestle all day long.
For me, it's Hush.
I will say no one like Tony Evans and Will Austin. Those are two wrestlers that have the capability of whenever I'm booing them to always make, because as a fan, every time you have a moment where you're booing for someone, but they do something cool and you're like, damn it.
So like for me, Will is the guy I love to boo.
Yes.
Yeah.
Tony just sucks. No, I'm just, he's like one of the like.
There's a rule here. We do have one rule. You cannot say Tony sucks.
Tony doesn't always perform to his. No, because that's not true. What I was about to say is not true. I would much rather say Tony sucks. I know that's not a rule. I know now that's a rule that I cannot cross. But I'd much rather say Tony sucks because that's how good he is. Because if I start depicting, like, breaking down his game, it's not worth anybody's time, right? He's good. He's just good.
And maybe, too, like Will and Tony, maybe they can just keep fighting each other and then join forces or something like that. As where it could go. I don't know. But I'm interested to see where this whole Will, Tony, and Jay thing going. Keep those three together, darn it.
Will and Tony in a tag team. Oh my gosh.
Which I'm telling you, the three of them together in a group.
Oh yeah. Yeah. No, I love it. I love it. I'm dripping on the floor.
I think it'd be a good group right there. We have Dustin Jackson versus AJZ as well. This was
Dustin Jackson still on a freaking spree, man. He won. Clean. I mean, he's like, it's one of those coming up soon within the next couple of months. He's got to get like either a mid-card tournament match or even even a title shot, I mean, he can go under or something. I'm not saying, you know, like, oh my gosh, put the main belt on, yeah, or anything, but he is, when someone's at the top of their game, it's just like you gotta let him go for a little bit. And right now, DJ is on fire.
Yes.
So I might you know, while I'm here, I might be able to provide a little context. Dustin, the biggest rule in OVW is go make your money, but don't do it in our area. Don't do it in an area that has TV.
Yep.
Dustin broke that rule a few years ago. Probably about 4 or 5 years ago. And he came back to OVW. And it's never that Al or the booking team doesn't want to use him. It's that they always wanted to teach him a lesson.
I gotcha.
And that's the thing about Dustin. It's like the sky is the limit with that guy. Especially like he is a true Louisville kid. He went to high school in Louisville. He's a true Kentucky kid. Like, he loves Kentucky. He loves being from Kentucky. He loves being from Louisville. He is as true of a babyface as anybody could possibly book. Yep. But he made the mistake of leaving. And now he's clawing his way back up.
Well, I'm just saying, it's like, at a certain point in a promotion, I mean, you obviously make whatever rules he's less or whatever, but if you listen to the fans, I think they're speaking pretty loud and clear who's like at their top right now.
Couldn't have put it better myself, brother.
Yeah, Dustin, he is legit a Louisville kid. I mean, he mentioned he went to high school here. He actually did. The high school he went to, he actually went to my church that had a high school. Well, has a school. It's K through 12, and he actually went to the school my church has. Well, my former church has, but I don't go to the church anymore, so it's like I still sometimes go there. But anyways, I digress. But yeah,
listen, everybody's relationship with whatever is exactly that. It's theirs.
Yeah, exactly. Then we have Star Rider versus Brandon Beretta, who I'm not really familiar with. Brandon Beretta.
So Brandon Beretta is he's a graduate guy, a school guy, an academy guy.
Yeah.
And he's like real no bullshit, right? Like, and so they put him up with Star, who is exceptionally bullshitty. Like, which I love. Like, I love when guys are super serious. Not to take away from your assessment of the match, Ryan, but I love when guys are super serious and then they get paired with a guy in a mask that will just bump their ass off for him.
It's an interesting dynamic.
Yeah. Like I said, I'm not familiar with the other guy, but Star Rider, yeah. Even though I'm not really a fan of his right now with the Revolution stuff, but I digress. Maybe you didn't see, if you didn't see it or didn't catch it a couple weeks ago, he was right here on the Final Count. And made
great episode. Go watch
his appearance. And kind of called me out after I kind of called him out. So yeah. I don't know. Me and him are on good terms right now, or not. After that, next thing I want to talk about the
give it 6 months. You guys will be fine.
Oh yeah, oh yeah. Next thing I want to talk about the return of Dysfunction, and Tom Coffey, who actually had a new look to him. He's cut his hair. And him and Brandon Espinosa took on the new OVW Tag Team Champions of the Blockbusters. I'm sorry, I do not know their names. They're just the Blockbusters. Yeah.
Because again, I'm watching my language in case there's any kids out there. F those dudes.
Yeah.
Like, I would much rather see Dysfunction as the tag team champions than the Blockbusters.
They legit, when I first saw them at Halloween Hell Night, I thought of them as knockoff Edgeheads or the knockoff, this past week, they are now the knockoff Edgeheads or knockoff America's Most Wanted from TNA.
So I would have never ever arrived at knockoff Edgeheads, but you're 100% right. What I always assumed they were the fucking Pillman Austin gimmick, right? The Hollywood blondes.
Yeah,
A little bit.
You know, like anytime you do anything that's like movie related, you're just doing the Pillman Austin gimmick. Like, oh, I'm just gonna do two of the best guys of all time before they were the best guys of all time. How pretentious.
Yeah.
Oh, sorry, guys. I didn't realize the Blockbusters are listening. Also, guys, I'm at 5%.
Yeah.
I can probably figure out how to plug this up.
Hold on.
But you tell me what to do.
All right, fans, we are back. Sorry about that. We had technical issues right
Where's
there.
the closet?
Yeah. Yes. So we have one more match for OVW Rise from this past week to talk about. It is the OVW Heavyweight Champion Mount Kadeem versus Jack Vaughn, the veteran Jack Vaughn. What did you guys think about this match?
So, like, I was very excited to see Mount Kadeem in this situation because they don't call him the veteran for nothing. And Mount Kadeem, for me, possesses a certain... He has a lack of killer instinct that Jack Vaughn has no problem with. So I was, like, very, very, very excited to see this.
Yeah, no, it was good. I mean, the whole match and segment did what it needed to do. It was a good way to end out. And it's good seeing Jack Vaughn, kind of back to – he's been out for, a couple weeks traveling around. But, I mean, he, again, is like a mainstay. And, like, just me personally, like, going to OVW for almost a year and stuff, whenever Jack Vaughn came out and I saw him for the first time, I think I had the same reactions like, that guy. Like, I mean,
yeah, that motherfucker right there, he's got it. Yeah, that's the correct reaction.
Yeah. And the whole Foley thing and like him getting picked out of that, like he's got some more stuff to do, but he is a class act and just entertainment in general. If you haven't watched his TikToks, my God, please go watch that guy. He is the only reason I have the TikTok app on my phone. I don't like it.
You don't seem like a TikTok guy.
Yeah.
But it makes sense because Jack Vaughn's shit is so good.
It is so good. He gets every facet of wrestling. And like I've had a chance over the year to see him wrestle as like kind of your classic Flairish heel, but then also on this like good guy, run that he has. And he knows exactly the part that he's playing whenever he's in the ring. And
what I love when he makes the transition is that he doesn't change.
He knows when to zig, when to zag, and when to go the other way. Yeah. And he always makes the other guy look better too, which obviously is
without making himself look like a fool. I think like you're totally right. Like you always have to make the other side look better. Yes. But Jack Vaughn never looks like a dunce.
Nope.
And like, for me, that's the Jack Vaughn character.
Yep.
Yeah.
Like he looks like he's winning when he's losing.
Yeah.
No, those are some great points right there. Like Jack Vaughn, like I was glad to see him back. Like legit. I'm so like ecstatic to see him back. Like, no, we talked about Cash and everything. Jack Vaughn is just as much capable of taking that OVW Heavyweight Championship away from Mount Kadeem as Cash Flow is.
I agree.
I mean,
Almost more so. I mean, he's been champion before, he's had a good run. About this time last year, I think it was him and Tony who were going for the title around Christmas Chaos time. But yeah. And also don't forget, because like he's just been like on a funny stint for a while and everyone loves the stash, but like he can also be fairly ruthless in the ring and stuff. And like he's a really good environmentalist, and I just love everything about his ring psychology.
I'm sorry, Neil. I'm sorry.
No. I mean, that's anyway.
Well, the reason I'm sorry is because I have a nothing nowhere point. He's also going to Poland soon, which I'm like very envious of, and will probably. So for sentimental reasons, I need to visit Poland.
Sure.
And I would be lying to you if seeing Jack Vaughn being announced for Polish events was not more of a motivator to go to the motherland.
If you got to pick a wrestler to follow across the globe, you could pick worse than Jack Vaughn.
That's what I'm saying. That's what I'm saying. Is like Jack Vaughn in Poland, Nostrovia. Like, fuck it. Like, I love it. Like,
exactly. Well, guys, I think that wraps up OVW for this week. Man, like I said, what a great week of wrestling action. As I'm sure this next week is wrestling just right now, as you'll see as we talk about some of these shows that we're going to promote tonight or today on the show. I mean, some of these, as you'll see on some of these shows, wrestling is just, it's hot right now. It's hot anywhere you go.
I always like to say it's in the zeitgeist.
Yeah.
It's in the zeitgeist. I think I said that earlier. Like,
or mainstream. That's what's like crazy. It's mainstream now.
Those two words for me mean the exact same thing.
Right. Yeah, of course.
No. I mean, and I'm not trying to undercut you or take away from you, but like, it is an exciting thing to be a wrestling fan and realize that, everyone else is a wrestling fan too.
Yeah.
Like, it's an exciting thing to look around as a wrestling fan and realize that like what you're seeing on the news, what you're seeing in your day-to-day life is wrestling.
Yeah, people getting it more.
Yeah.
Oh well, I was talking about politics and all that, but never mind.
We all love you.
Well, guys, let's go ahead and promote some of these shows. This first show we want to promote here is Wrestling Theology Fellowship. They're having their next show today, November 9th. It is at Mercy Road Church in Anderson. Mercy Road Church, Anderson. The address is 2625 Lindbergh Road in Anderson, Indiana. That is actually up in the Indianapolis area. And I cannot hardly read the
you got some great graphics
here. For tickets information, go to wrestlingtheology.com. The doors open at 5. Bell time is at 6 p.m. This match right here, Jeremy Hadley versus I don't know if I'm pronouncing his name right or not.
I think it's Oasis Star.
Cassius. Is that an O or a Q? Because it looks like Cassius Star.
Cassius Star.
Actually, I'm going with y'all. Cassius Star.
Cassius Star, yeah, I think so too. And so I don't know if that's looks like a briefcase he's holding. Again, I don't follow up with wrestling theology as much as I have in the past. Well, I'm not going to say I have in the past or anything, but I've been to like one of their shows before, so they are definitely a good show to check out for sure.
Right,
if you're in the area.
Well, no, I mean, support local wrestling, and local wrestling will fucking support you.
Exactly. And here's the next match that they have on the card tonight. Poison Apollo Star. Apollo Star is one of their main stars there. I do know that much. The Bomb Eric Surge, who is someone who we have seen in OVW lately. They're taking on each other tonight.
Apollo Star looks like he's a background member in an Outkast music video.
He actually used to be a part of a promotion in Indiana. It was in Charlestown, Indiana, called Destination One Wrestling, D1W. And he was one of their mainstays there for a while. So yeah, he's pretty well known around Indiana. And Kentucky, I believe, as well.
Yeah.
Then we have Warhorse versus the tag team of Warhorse versus MBJ and Pompano Joe. Pompano Joe is another one that's no stranger to the Indiana wrestling scene as well.
Is that Pompano Joe, or is that that boy that used to tag team with Shawn Michaels? Marty Jannetty.
Marty Jannetty?
No,
that's not Marty Jannetty.
I feel like that's Marty Jannetty.
That is not Marty Jannetty.
Okay. All right. Well, I'll take your word for it.
Then we have someone who debuted at OVW on Thursday night, Anthony Tatelli. I don't know if it was in a dark match or in a pre-show match or anything, but Anthony Tatelli is taking on Jacob Rose with Mortimer Blankenship III. If you're not familiar with Mortimer, he is out of Supreme, or really known from Supreme Wrestling up in Madison, Indiana, who will promote here in a little bit as well. And so that should be a really good match.
Well, I know who I would choose. It's the guy without a shirt on.
Anthony Tatelli.
I'd have to guess. Yeah. Ooh.
And we have Chuckles and Mr. Fitness, Slim Chernums. Mr. Fitness, if you're familiar with Big B Pro Wrestling, they were a promotion that operated out of Owensboro, Kentucky. Mr. Fitness
Yeah. I saw it. I would see them when I came back from Tennessee sometime.
Yes. So Mr. Fitness was with Big B Pro Wrestling. And so they're going to be taking on Juan Thomas and Saucy Josh Morris.
For me, it's I always got to bet against the tag team that is obviously thrown together in the form of the skinniest white man you've ever seen and the form of the biggest black man you've ever seen. So I'm going to say that they lose this. That's obvious. That's an old wrestling thing, is to just throw the two unexpecteds together because you know they're going to lose. So.
Yeah, I don't know. That Chuckles and Twinkies looks pretty serious, man.
Yeah, I agree.
He looks like Carson Drake on steroids if he was an outrunner.
That was great. Next match, we have someone else who's not.
Hey!
Oh, my girl, Alexander. Okay, so I just want to go ahead and get in here right now. I don't care if the Marionette Noel Summit is a champion. All right, Alexander is my favorite women's wrestler ever.
So can Ari take out the win here? We shall see. We shall find out.
Yeah, well, I mean, that's what I'm saying. Is you guys know my choice. I'll make yours.
I think I agree. Ari Alexander.
Oh.
Yeah, right. Ari.
Unanimous. And then we have someone who is no stranger to OVW. We've talked about him already here tonight. The veteran Jack Vaughn taking on Space Cowboy Stacey Alexander.
Listen, if you're a Space Cowboy Stacey Alexander right now, you got to be quaking in your little Andy soaked cowboy boots. You got to be embarrassed. You got to be disgusted with yourself. Going up against Jack Vaughn,
I mean, I would be terrified if I were him.
That's what I'm
I
saying.
mean, I mean, seriously, look at the firmness in Jack Vaughn's fingers as he's grasping his glasses.
Yes.
Do you see the precision and the tenacity versus the lackadaisical pinky and index finger of his opponent?
Yeah, I don't listen. One in the pink and one in the stink has never worked, and it's not going to work here at Harvest Havoc.
Yes, I agree. I agree. Then the next promotion we want to talk about is our friends over at Supreme Pro Wrestling, or Supreme Wrestling rather. They have on the first Friday night of every month. They have Final Friday. In addition to our events every Saturday evening, we will also host a live event on the Final Friday. So sorry, it's
dude. I love
Final Friday of each month.
Like setting up a town, setting up a venue, like one day a month. I love that.
Yeah.
Yes, and this is so they actually have on the final Friday of each month, the same location and time. Then they have every Saturday night, Supreme Arena, 2520 Lanier Drive, Madison, Indiana. Doors open at 6:30 p.m. Bell time is at 7:30 p.m. All tickets are just $9. And actually, guys, tomorrow night, tonight.
Well, actually, I have to say something to the
Yeah.
Supreme Person. Round it up to 10. Round it up to 10. Nobody carries around $9 spare. Round it up to 10. Make it extra $1.
I agree.
Fair piece of advice.
Actually, tonight.
Well, actually, you're the you're the wrestling Mr. Neal. You know a lot more about promoting wrestling than I do. From your perspective, would that be? Is $9 more advantageous than $10, or is like what do you do? I guess is my biggest question. What do you do?
Either or. I'd go for 10 and just really convince all of your roster to do something to really make sure they felt like they got their extra buck.
Okay, I love that. So whenever you're booking, I'm sorry, Ryan. I'm sorry.
Oh no,
whenever you're booking events, do you have a lot of leeway in who you book, or is like when you're working with a company, they just give you who you got?
Yeah, whenever you're independent coming up, it's just whoever will work with you that you can convince that isn't under contract that you can afford to pay.
So have you ever, and I'm not asking for names or situations, have you ever paid someone more than they were worth? Yes or no?
Well, I'm going to say no.
No, actually, when you started with well, I would rather let you answer it. So, well, what?
I am new to wrestling promotion, man. I just got my first show off the ground going into my second, but I've done like theater and entertainment promotion for a while. So it just really depends on the base stuff. But as far as have I paid a wrestler more than they were worth, too early to say. I've promoted one show. Everyone did a good job. I was satisfied with it, but yeah. So sorry, No.
I love this. Maybe sometime you can come on. You ready for this, Ryan?
1000%.
Yeah.
The OVW podcast, the unofficial podcast of Ohio Valley Wrestling. Maybe sometime you can come on that and we can, have this conversation further.
Absolutely.
Sorry, Ryan. The only requirement of me coming on here tonight was that I plugged our podcast 1,000 times.
Oh, of course, and we will plug it. At least.
Yeah, I have a producer. I have to do what they say. You know.
Of course.
What's
Let's
the next show, Ryan?
Do what?
I was saying, what's the next wrestling show?
Well, speaking of Supreme, we have 2 matches for tonight that I want to bring up. We have Tegan Rose, the current Supreme Women's Champion, defending the title against Ali Albright tonight. Again, doors open at 6:30. Bell time is at 7 p.m. That is tonight, Saturday, November 9th. And then, yeah.
I have had the pleasure of seeing Ali Albright wrestle several times over in Grindhouse. She's very good up and comer. So hopefully maybe she could get over. I'm not sure, don't know yet, but yeah, I like Ali. She's cool.
Where's Grindhouse located out of?
Jeffersonville, Indiana.
Jeffersonville, Indiana.
Right on, right on. So for you guys in Louisville, that's close.
Oh yeah, right over the bridge.
Yeah.
Yep.
I used to when I I still take the Greyhound a lot, but when I used to take the Greyhound, my big stayover was Evansville, which was always great because wrestling promotions still considered Evansville a wrestling town, you know.
Right.
So I would watch wrestling there. Their Greyhound station was like downtown, right next to an arcade bar. So I always loved Evansville, but I've noticed their stock has gone down not only in Greyhound terms, not only in wrestling terms, but just in terms in general.
Oh wow.
Or
The next match, and I'm assuming, I don't know for sure, but this might be the main event of the night. We have NWA star Carson Drake versus Derek Winter. And so that's gonna be a big match tonight at Supreme.
You know what I like to say is Derek Winter, thanks for coming.
Yeah. Carson may have this one.
I think so too. And then we're gonna move on to a show that I might be at. Before we get into the main show here, we'll share these matches real quick. We have Lexi Green versus Dayami. This is at Elite Wrestling Alliance Prime 012, November 9th. It's today, November 9th, or tonight, November 9th, 2024. Doors open at 6 p.m. Bell time is at 7 p.m. This is in Richmond, Kentucky. Lexi Green versus Dayami.
Well, to me, it looks like these guys are in the Gaga. Like, not to discredit them, but like you've got a big Gaga match here as the thing that you're advertising. Also, side note, if you want to watch wrestling tomorrow night, Bourbon Brawl at Bourbon County High School, you should go see that instead.
We're gonna get to that too.
Yeah, but again, I'm supposed to just like I'm a whore, really.
That's cool. Shameless plug.
Yeah, I'm just shamelessly plugging everything.
Oh no, you're good. Then we got the next match. We have Zachary Dawn versus Nick Ultima. Never heard of either of these two, but that's not discrediting them.
Well, they sure are pretty.
Right. Then we have Creed Costello versus Party Mike.
I'll say the same thing. They sure are pretty.
We have Johnny Cisco versus Steel Wool. I guess one of them might be pretty.
No, Steel Wool is one of the all-time great wrestling names. Like, I fuck with that. Like, that's a great name.
And here's the flyer for tonight. Elite Wrestling Alliance Prime 012, 012 rather. You have, as you see, I believe it's the Heritage Champion, Ethan, big time Ethan Hire. He's taking
the ultimate underdog in the Ohio Valley.
Yes. And you have also a OVW alumni in Berto and Hippo. As you see Hippo right there with him. Also Zodiac is there as well, right there on the flyer as well. So this should be a really awesome show They're with the Elite Wrestling Alliance as well, and that's in Richmond, Kentucky at the Telford YMCA.
So I actually might have to show you guys something. So every wrestling event that is in the state of Kentucky has to be licensed, and all of that is public information.
Right.
And I've often thought maybe it's us three. I've often thought, because I've printed this page out 1,000 times, where it's just like in Owenton, Kentucky tonight, there's pro wrestling.
Mm-hmm.
And I've often thought maybe I should just go and watch that instead of whatever I'm watching. Maybe we could do that. Maybe that's another podcast.
I mean, possibly.
Well, I know that you have all the podcast equipment, Ryan, and I know that Neil only has one jacket, but we could make it work.
I have multiple jackets. This is not my automotive, you know?
I don't have multiple jackets.
Ryan, you don't need any more jackets.
Last but not least, we definitely have, as we've mentioned, Ohio Valley.
Oh my gosh, is that the OVW Bourbon Brawl?
That is
sponsored by
OVW
Divine
Bourbon
Spirits?
Brawl. Yes,
I think it is.
Oh my goodness, I can't believe this. This is so incredible, guys. The OVW Bourbon Brawl is the first of what we hope to make a long-term event, and all the money goes to the Bourbon County High School marching band. And like where I work, we put our name on the poster. We ain't making $1 or a dime off of this. This is all going to young children who are performing at an incredibly high level. This is just to make sure that they continue to get the opportunity to perform at an incredibly high level. And that's Bourbon Brawl. November 9th, 2024.
All right, and how much are tickets for a Bourbon Brawl and everything for that?
I think that's those tickets are at ovwtix.com. I think that I know that first row tickets, premium tickets are sold out. That means your general admission tickets are $10, the same way that it is at any OVW show, same way that it is at Davis Arena, $10. And that's November 9th.
There we go. And that is tonight, November 9th. And so, guys, wrestling fans, get out and check out all these shows if you can. If you're in that
Ryan, Neil, are you guys coming?
I might
not be there, unfortunately. Sorry.
It's okay. I was just gonna say, if you guys are coming, text me because I can hook you up with all the fun stuff. But I understand in the future, it's hard to be Ryan. It's hard to be Neil. If you guys still want to come. But you guys aren't getting any of the fun stuff. That's just for Ryan and Neil.
Noted.
Well,
I do want to, because that is the shows that we have to promote. It is time to pay some bills right quick.
Do it.
And so I'm gonna let you all help me with this, okay?
Do it.
Insist upon it, please.
So I'll take this first one, and then we'll throw it to our friends over at collarelbowbrand.com, Mr. Al Snow. But let me cue up some music here right quick.
Wrestling. Passion and love that we all share.
There we go.
All right. Go to collarelbowbrand.com. Use our promo code Final Count KY to save 10% at checkout. And again, that's collarelbowbrand.com. Use our promo code Final Count KY to save yourself 10% at checkout. And with more on Colin Elbow brand, let's go to our friend over at Colin Elbow. Let's throw it to Mr. Al Snow.
Wrestling. A love and a passion we all share. I've started a wrestling brand. The wrestling brand. A brand founded on the aspects of wrestling. Two entities working together to create a product that connect emotionally for people everywhere. Collar and Elbow is the brand. Passion and love for wrestling is the drive. I am Al Snow, and this is Collar and Elbow, the wrestling brand.
All right, and for the next one, I'm gonna let you take this one, Jackman. Let's you take this one.
Oh, me?
Yes.
What am I doing?
I just shop. If you shop at WWEshop.com.
Am I shopping at WWEshop.com?
If you
Am I
shop
using my personal link?
WWEshop.com, use our personal link in the description of the episode below.
So if I wanted to help out the Final Count podcast,
yes,
I would go to WWEshop.com using the personal link in the description that's somewhere around here.
Correct.
And what's the code again? I'm so sorry.
There's no code. Just use a link. Go find yourself your favorite WWE Superstars merch, t-shirt, whatever that might be.
So if I was a fan of the Final Count podcast and I was also a fan of WWE, I can follow the link below me to save money on WWE products and also help out the Final Count?
That is correct.
Thank you. That sounds amazing.
Yeah, right? I know. Absolutely amazing.
That's WWEshop.com using our personal link. Their personal link. I'm not part of these people. I would never be considered part of these people. Using their personal link in the description below.
And I'll take this next one here. Head on over to jcounty.app.com now to get your official Final Count hoodie for $45 and our first version of the t-shirts for only $25. We also have a second version of the t-shirts as well as car decals on our website, which I do need to get that updated in our promos here. But you can find out that on in the description of the link below as well. And then Neil, I'm gonna let you take this next one.
Thank you. Don't forget to check out the audio version of the podcast. You can catch it on Spotify, Amazon Music, iHeartRadio, Google Podcasts, Breaker, Overcast, Pocket Cast, Radio Public, and iTunes.
All right. And be sure to also check us out on YouTube as well, and Facebook and all that good stuff. And then head on over to w.gg and use the promo code FinalCountKY to save 10% at checkout. It is your taste buds' favorite energy drink. Again, that's w.gg and use our promo code FinalCountKY to save 10% at checkout. And gentlemen, that does conclude our sponsorships here on the Final Count. But before we do close out the rest of this show, I want to let Neil have the floor right here and speak about this.
Yeah, we all love wrestlers and local wrestling and stuff. And Dream Girl Ellie, as you know, she wrestles around this area. She's awesome. Fans love her. She was unfortunately in an automobile accident. And if you go to the Facebook page on BullPen Wrestling and check it out, you will find a link to donate some money to her. Obviously, if you're on the indie scene, traveling is super duper important, and not having a vehicle is detrimental. So if you can, if you're a fan of wrestling or Ellie's, or you like watching, just one day out of the week, instead of stopping at Wendy's on the way home, just send $10, $5, whatever you've got. We would really appreciate that. And I hope it works out. Ellie, thank you for everything that you do for wrestling in the area. And that's it.
There you go. Yes. Wrestling fans, go ahead and support Ellie. We're glad she is definitely okay, but still, right. The expenses of the car situation and everything, damages to the car. That's her means of transportation and getting around, obviously, but especially getting around as a wrestler, you have to have that car to get around. And so fans, like you said, save money. Don't go get that. Hold off on that coffee for today, or hold off on that McDonald's that you really don't need. I mean, let's just be honest. I'm not going to fret on it that much, but I'm just saying. But yeah,
one of the best things that I ever got told about giving to the artist that you love, is don't forsake your luxuries. Don't forsake your commodity. Just change it around. Right. Maybe for a few months you're giving money to this person. Maybe for a few months you're giving money to a different person. Mm-hmm. Don't forgive your luxury. Don't forgive your stuff. Like, treat yourself well. But if you love an artist's work, give money to them.
Yes, exactly. Exactly. And it's the same way with wrestling as well. So, for sure. And then I also want to show as well. I want to, first of all, Neil, I want to thank you for coming on the show again, filling in this week.
Thank you guys. No, it's been a blast. Like, I'm a nerd. I live for this. So yeah.
For me personally, like, I know your face, I know your outfit. Obviously, everyone at OVW does. But like, it's been a pleasure. It's been a real pleasure to connect and name with a face and to share this time with you. And thank you for listening to all my bullshit. Like, Neil, I owe you a beer next time you want one. 100%. I know you don't take all the time, but like, next time you want one, hit me up.
Sounds good.
Me, you, and Kyle at the Country Boy booth will have a powwow.
Country Boy.
And then I got to show some love to the OVW podcast and Jackman with the OVW podcast. So be sure to check out the unofficial podcast of Ohio Valley Wrestling and the home of podcasters, the Unofficial Wrestlers After Show.
So yeah, like, the only reason that I have the pleasure to know Neil and to know Ryan and to know Chris, or to know any of the wrestlers that I know, is because I host a show called the OVW Podcast. It's the unofficial podcast of Ohio Valley Wrestling. I've plugged it 20 times by now. But like, this show in a lot of ways gave me a new lease on life, and it gave me the opportunity to meet great people, like the people that I'm sharing the microphone with tonight. And my friends, the Bryans over on the podcast. But Neil and Ryan, like, I really can't tell you guys, like, I can't put into words that, like, without the podcast, I would probably not have known either one of you guys. And I'm super glad for the podcast that we put together. And it's not always perfect. It's often less than perfect. But I'm so glad to do it, and I'm so glad that maybe, just maybe, the fans of the Final Count podcast followed me over to the OVW podcast, the unofficial podcast of Ohio Valley Wrestling.
Definitely. Fans, we always, it's no secret that we do talk about the OVW podcast on the Final Count on a normal basis, or try to. and
and
shout
and
you all
and
out as
and
well.
that's like, brother Neil, if you can just cover your ears, because this isn't really for you.
Okay, that's fine.
But Ryan, listen, you and I and all of us together, and I guess Neil maybe since he's here, we've got a lot to look forward to. We've got a lot to look forward to. We're gonna all build each other up, and we're gonna all do this thing the right way, and we're gonna only do it with each other and our fans.
Yes,
I think that's the vibe. Yeah.
So,
exactly.
like, and like, I know my other co-hosts are gonna listen to this, and I say fuck them. But like, my biggest thing. Oh gosh. Oh no. Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness. My biggest thing since the beginning of all of this is like finding the space where we all exist, right?
Yeah.
Where we as fans or podcasters or what the fuck ever all exist alongside of each other, not be behind each other, alongside of each other. And I think that like my ultimate goal with the OVW podcast is for all of us, whether you host a podcast like Ryan or you're just a good fan like Neil, all of us to get the ticket to the top four,
Yeah.
And as I've said several times on this podcast, I wouldn't say this is my own podcast, but I will say it here. We're all going. We're all going.
Yes. Yes. And just kind of a closing statement here. It's been a pleasure to have you both on. Definitely going to have you both on again, obviously.
Neil, next time that we're on, I won't waste 8 hours of your time.
Oh yeah, you haven't wasted any time, so it's cool.
Oh no,
it's cool.
yeah, you're good.
Thank you for saying that. You didn't have to lie, but thank you for saying that.
Oh, you're good, Jackman. But it's been an honor to have you both on. Definitely welcome to have you back anytime.
Ryan, you're a great host.
Strangers.
You are a great host.
Thank you.
You are, like, I mean, everyone's doing great.
Yes.
Well, except for me, but that's fine. I'll fix it next time. I'll fix it by the next time we run into each other. I promise.
Oh my goodness. But fans, for real, listen, support indie wrestling, support podcasts, show some love to.
I'm not kidding. For me,
the Final Count. Show some love to the
I was
OVW
really
podcast.
hoping my cat was about to come make this whole thing perfect, but she decided against it.
Show some love to our friends over at Can Christian's podcast, also over at Ringside Podcast as well.
Yeah, no, actually, fuck those guys.
Yeah. Yeah.
Eric Cornish, fuck you. What's the boy's name? What's the referee's name?
Oh, Daniel Spencer.
Yeah, I couldn't even fix on it, even if I wanted to. Fuck you, Daniel Spencer. Fuck all of y'all. Linda K. Fuck you. No. Okay.
This is all a joke.
I'm kidding. I'm obviously kidding.
They know we like to mess with them too.
Yeah. I love you guys. I love you guys, and also everyone associated with the Ringside Podcast. Fuck you. No, I love you guys too. I love you.
But fans, we thank you for watching this episode. We hope you've enjoyed it. We hope you have been entertained by it, and that you've just continued to follow the Final Count and OVW podcast is going nowhere but.
No, listen, Final Count podcast, the best podcast in the game. If you're not following them, you're fucking stupid. Go fucking follow them, you stupid ass, ignorant motherfuckers. It's the Final Count all the way. They're not the one. They're not the two. They're number one. You hear?
Well, thank you. And with that being said, we will see you down the road.